Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has hagoromo power in rwby. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by toadboss and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Prologue. Naruto Uzumaki was the hero of the Leaf, the mightiest ninja Sasuke had admitted he won their last fight, so that was official now and forever. No takes back and all previous losses to said bastard thus did not count and the future Hokage sat upon his father's stone head watching the sunset with a bottle of sake by his side. He had come to the Hokage monument to think after he had seen off his old teammate Sasuke at the road near the gates to the village, his friend had set off on his journey to find redemption, leaving Naruto to watch over their home. Naruto let his gaze wander over Konoha and reminisced over all it took to get here and the people that didn't make it. Though it would be a lie to say it was a place of only happy memories, it was his home, and despite the changes that had occurred he knew and loved everything he gazed down at, though it was not without some mixed feelings. This is where it all starts, Kurama. Naruto said. The massive entity inside the seal on his stomach tilted his head and flicked his long ears. I would think this would be the endgame. The reward at the end of your trials. Kurama responded. Naruto slowly rose to his feet, the right sleeve of his white coat swayed in the breeze and brought a sharp reminder that his arm was one of those things that he had lost. He raised his bottle as the sun sank fully beneath the horizon. No partner, this is where the next legend of the great Naruto Uzumaki will begin. Naruto said with a grin. As the final word left his lips and the last ray of sunlight disappeared beneath the horizon, a flash of purple light burst from his chest, leaving Naruto no time to curse or shout before he vanished from the mountaintop. He would never return. Chapter 1 That's just not fair. When Naruto returned to consciousness it was to the view of a vast darkness all around him. The only thing that he could see within the darkness was a white but not blinding radiance in front of him and the old man in the center of the light gripping his right shoulder as if to keep him in place. Naruto, I am so sorry this has happened, said old man Hagoromo. Well fuck was his response. No one had ever apologized about anything that had happened to him unless they knew he was truly screwed. I am afraid we don't have much time, the older sage continued. My mother is the cause of this, she placed some kind of delayed teleportation jutsu on you before she was sealed, Hagoromo said with a look of sorrow. But you got me in time, right? I mean you can just put me back now. Naruto said with a small amount of rising hope that all will soon be well. The lines of the old man's face deepened as his expression grew more grim. I am afraid not, child, I have never seen such a technique before. It was all I could do to stop you here at the border of our reality, said Hagoromo. That tiny hope in Naruto's eyes was thus brutally stomped to death. So how does this end? Naruto asked with rising panic. Hagoromo took a deep breath in a space that probably didn't have air and looked deep into the eyes of a young man the world had already asked far too much of. He spoke in a heated rush. Naruto, I must be brief, so I am sorry, but there is no way I can stop this. My mother was very vindictive with this technique. It will send you far beyond our reality and place a curse of sorts on your soul. It will be nearly impossible for you to find a way to return, and if you somehow did, this reality will reject you as alien to it. Hagoromo said. He paused as he saw the boy on the verge of breaking down. Naruto, I must ask something great of you. This world needs Naruto Uzumaki. It needs a leader in the times to come, so I wish to use my yin-yang release to create from you a perfect replica, a true clone that would take your place and continue your destiny in this reality, but I will not do this without your permission. Hagoromo said as he continued. The shock on the young ninja's face grew, he wanted to replace him, to make it so no one knew he was gone. You can't, that's just not. Naruto went silent. The countless people he was now forced to leave behind flashing through his thoughts. They would be crushed to know his fate, lost and without his strength, perhaps even doomed, should a threat like the rabbit goddess appear again. Do it, old man, he stated with determination blazing in his eyes even through the despair. Naruto Uzumaki always keeps his word, so he will be Hokage, even if it's not the grade A original, the young ninja said as he struck his nice guy pose. Hagoromo returned his smile with a bitter one. Naruto, you truly are the greatest ninja to ever live. I am honored to have a descendant like you, and I am ashamed to force such a hard choice on you at this time. I want you to know I will do all I can to watch over your home and to ensure what safety I can to you on your journey, Hagoromo said, the growing pride in his eyes overshadowing some of the sorrow. Oh, I guess Kurama will have to go with Naruto then. Naruto asked with sudden realization he would be truly alone in a new reality. Think again, brat, I've already spoken to the old man before you woke up after pathetically fainting. He will create a copy of me as well, though mostly just my mind, as my mighty and majestic power is not easily copied and is tied to this reality, thus most of it must stay. I will only be able to retain a single tail, though he thinks I may be able to form a new body in this other realm, spoke the voice of Kurama within him. I am sure you can read between the lines and see that he will not leave you to your fate alone, the old man said as a small smile appeared on the Naruto's face. The world of darkness around them seemed to quake as Naruto felt a force that seemed to tug at his very existence. We must hurry it seems, Naruto. I have at least assured that you will appear somewhere with sustainable life. I will also use two paths on you, one will be the human path's ability to extract knowledge. He paused as he saw horror in the boy's eyes and quickly explained. Do not worry, I have far greater experience than Nagato and can alter the skill. You will not need to kill or take the soul of the victim, they will only lose consciousness. I will also use the Asura path to create a mechanical arm to replace your own. Why not just make me a new arm? Naruto quickly asked. The old man sighed before he spoke. I am unsure if jutsu will work or even if chakra will still exist. The human path may also not work even for its single use, at least I can give you a weapon I am more confident will function, Hagoromo said. Naruto looked at where his arm used to be. Let's get started then, old man sage, Naruto said with determination. Hagoromo Tsutsuki nodded before his grip on Naruto's shoulder tightened as he moved Naruto's shirt out of the way and his Rinnegan activated. With a hiss of steam, Naruto watched as a dark metal band that was similar to what was used to make chakra channeling weapons grew into existence from just above where his elbow used to be, and from that base grew a limb that if he was aware of another reality close to his own, he would describe as similar to a red-coated alchemist's own mech arm. There was an intense itching sensation followed by pressure, then he could feel it. He could again feel the movement of fingers as his metal hand curled into a fist. It was an odd sensation, like he was wearing a thick glove over his whole arm. Weird, Naruto mumbled as he moved his new limb around. I am sure you will adapt to it, said Hagoromo as he placed his hand over the Naruto's blonde head. I will place the instinctual knowledge of the Asura path within you, should it get damaged or need an enhancement just clear your mind and you will hopefully know what to do. To use the human path, place your hand upon the person's head and think of the technique, it should start immediately, Hagoromo said. Naruto felt a sensation very similar to when the arm appeared, but somehow within his mind instead, as the new information was implanted in him. It felt similar to the knowledge he gained from shadow clones. Naruto, Kurama, our time ends here. All I can say at this point is that I believe in the both of you. I know you can overcome anything that comes at you together. Farewell my sons, Hagoromo said. These were Hagoromo's last words as Naruto was torn from his grip and cast into the abyss. Naruto felt as if he was being torn down to his very molecules. It is doubtful he knows this word though, and then forced back together. At one point he was aware that he was just a conscience without a body, as time seemed to cease existing. Before him passed the cosmos, what he witnessed both inspired and terrified as he saw countless worlds born from the heart of existence. As he looked he sensed something too vast to truly comprehend notice him, and in that moment, he felt a sense of safety and joy towards him. He then saw other worlds vanish into the darkness with no apparent reason or order, as entire realities were swallowed whole, and ended within this darkness, he sensed another more alien conscious. It was endlessly patient for it knew all things would end in time, but even more terrifying was that it too noticed him, and he felt he knew it, and it knew him. The very next moment he was inside the room within the seal facing Kurama. Kurama, what the hell was that? What did Naruto said with a panic that was maddening. Naruto, calm down and think of something else. Think of your village. Kurama quickly interrupted Naruto before panic could set in. My village, why bring that Wait, there was something I was thinking about, something important, Naruto said as he felt lost for a moment. Naruto, you need to stop trying to remember, what we saw was not supposed to be seen, your little human mind is forgetting the details on purpose, even my memory is likely to become flawed to protect my sanity, and as long as we don't try too hard to remember then we won't. We have more immediate problems anyway. Naruto, we have survived, but I have sensed a lot of changes to the both of us. Kurama said. What's happened, Kurama? Naruto responded, still confused. We have lost our chakra, but it seems to have been replaced with something else, another kind of energy that I do not recognize. Kurama said as he sensed the changes within them both. Naruto turned his senses inward and soon confirmed the fox's words. The energy he felt was certainly different, but it still had many similarities. Oh, and we appear to be falling. I will cast you out so you can take a look, Kurama said before he started to push Naruto to wake up on the outside. Wait, what? Naruto responded with his usual eloquence. Naruto opened his eyes to a new world and what he saw was truly beautiful. The endless sea of trees broken up with lakes and mountains, somehow different from the forests of his home, but no less breathtaking. He would be more moved emotionally of course if he wasn't moving towards it physically at incredible speeds and from at least a few miles above the highest mountain he could see. Con. Naruto turned his head to the side at the strange sound, faint over the roar of rushing wind, and saw a red fox the size of Akamaru's pup. He blinked at it and saw it blink back before he heard Kurama in his mind. It's me Naruto, our minds are still linked, but I have a new body. Kurama said. Why are you so small Naruto said and thought to the Kyuubi. Why are you so hideous the fox shot back. What? What do you mean what's happened to me? Naruto asked in horror. Relax nothing has changed with your outer appearance, so don't worry Kurama said. Oh good hey wait. Naruto yelled. Naruto calm down, we don't have time to argue. Reach out to me, I have a plan. Kurama said. Naruto stretched his arm until the fox could just reach with his claws. He then watched as his friend quickly worked his way across his arm and onto his back where he then laid as flat as possible. Kurama, what is the plan? Naruto asked with suspicion. To use you to absorb the impact for me, your best trait was always being sturdy, that's my plan, but your best bet is to somehow awaken a new source of power in the minute we have left before impact, Kurama replied with confidence and pride in his plan. This bastard Naruto thought before he started to meditate and search out how to awaken this new energy within. In the confines of his mind time was slow to a crawl as Naruto found that reservoir of energy within him, he soon realized that this energy was closer to the spiritual side than the even mix of spiritual and physical energy that was chakra. He began to try to circulate the energy, but he was shocked to find that he now lacked a chakra network. After a few failed attempts to work the energy he found success when he let it fill his body, then he opened his eyes to find he had a faint blue glow around his body the same color as his chakra. He also noticed that the ground was incredibly close. Naruto I think you should pump out as much as you can and hope it does something Kurama suggested. So that is exactly what he did, he pulled on the energy with all he had, and the blue aura around him grew to the point that it seemed to encase him. When the energy touched Kurama the fox was shocked to find he flared a dark red, and where the energies met an orange aura suddenly flared around them, both as they struck a mountaintop in a blinding flash. Kurama we survived right? Naruto asked in a groan of pain. Would we be in this much pain if we didn't? Kurama told him from atop his back. Well we're not too beat up, I think my wounds are even healing. Are you doing that Kurama? Naruto asked. No, it must be this new energy. What we have left must be healing us Kurama said in surprise. As Naruto listened to the fox speaking directly to his mind, he righted himself to a sitting position as Kurama now moved to the top of his head and watched as a large amount of black smoke drifted about and seemed to disappear. He had certainly felt something break his fall after the cave roof and he wondered what he had just probably destroyed. Where are we anyway? Naruto asked. We broke through to a cave filled with small red lights, probably moss or bugs. Kurama said. Kurama the moss just blinked at us. Naruto said with growing unease. Okay we are trapped in a cave and surrounded by monsters with noticeable bloodthirst directed at us. He corrected himself with resignation as even his tail and ears dropped down. As Naruto watched the creatures come closer to the circle of light cast by his entrance, he thought of everything else that had happened to him today. That's just not fucking fair. NCH1. Chapter 2. A rough start the fox must decide. Sitting in the light cast by his impromptu entrance Naruto soon got a better look at the creatures. He almost wished he hadn't. They looked like they were shaped from a child's fever-induced nightmare. The closest resemblance he could see was a wolf. A wolf that decided to grow its bones outside of its pitch-black skin in a horrid array of spikes. Their soulless red eyes glowed in the darkness beyond his small circle of light, slowly surrounding him. He frantically looked for an escape route, but his entrance was far above him and he did not want to be attacked in midair. He could not see any other entrance to the cave, so he watched as they slowly prepared to attack. Naruto slid a kunai into his hand as he waited to fight for his life. Kurama, watch my back Naruto told him as he set himself into a defensive stance. The first attack came from the side, one of the massive black monsters went for his arm with a vicious bite. Unfortunately for the Beowulf Naruto let it and the beast found itself biting down on a metal arm as a second later a kunai was buried up to the hilt into its skull. Naruto had a moment to watch in mild shock as the body disappeared into smoke before Kurama growled at his back. The fox had dropped to the ground and squared off with one of the wolves. As one charge Naruto feared for the far smaller Biju. Then he saw intense flames burst from the fox's jaw and spray his foe until it burst into fire and smoke. Kurama how the fuck did you do that, can I do that? Naruto asked as he fended off another attack. The Kurama stopped spitting flames long enough to turn to Naruto. Instinct I guess, I just attacked like normal and fire came out. You should stick to what you know you can do for now, Kurama said before he again started crowd control. Naruto didn't have time to speak as more charged from the front so he fought and he killed with abandon at these almost welcome targets to his rage. But this new energy that seemed to cast a shield over his body like Senjutsu, he went at them with equal ferocity. Naruto was a whirlwind of knives as he slashed at anything within reach. His old comrades would be surprised at the brutality he showed now, so different from his usual self. He lost himself in the fight, one moment he was cutting a creature's throat and the next he flipped over another while slinging kunai through the air at any target he could see. The battle was going in his favor, but he did not see a massive beast, twice the size of its brethren, crawl from an opening in the wall behind him till it was too late. The claw slammed into his side, he went with a blow and landed on another wolf's back. He plunged two blades into its flesh for leverage. He wrapped his legs around its neck and flipped himself upright. He grabbed two more kunai and drove those into its eyes. In the collapsing body Naruto was blind for a moment in the smoke. The largest beast that had blindsided him then charged through the haze, it slammed into him with incredible force and pinned him into the wall, causing the stone to crack. Naruto nearly puked as the air was driven from his body. He had only a moment to breath before it went for his throat. Naruto shoved his metal fist into its jaw, hoping to stall it long enough to grab another kunai. To his shock though this was unneeded. When the jaws closed down he felt a mechanism release from inside his arm and with a snick there was a 3-foot blade coming out of the back of his enemy's head. That came as a surprise to everyone in the cave. With his back to the wall Naruto inspected his arm while keeping an eye on the remaining wolves and he found he could retract and unsheath the blade at will. It felt like using a new muscle, odd now, but soon feeling more natural the more he used it. Naruto watched as Kurama ceased spitting fire and dashed his way over to him. "Wished you had found that a bit sooner kid, any other surprises in that arm?" Kurama asked. Naruto was still inspecting the arm when he replied. "Yeah, I think so, look at this Kurama," Naruto said. With a whirring sound the blade was retracted and his forearm opened as a miniature crossbow now laid on his arm and a 6-cartridge revolving bolt holder could be seen inside. Naruto let a grin rise on his face as he immediately let loose on the surrounding wolves. The bolts fired with incredible force far too fast for the normal human eye to see. He took out 2 and wounded the last 4, who apparently chose to flee. A hail of his remaining kunai and a blast of fire from Kurama made sure that none made it out of the cave. Naruto took an adrenaline-filled moment to look around the cave, but when he was sure there was no other threats, he slid down the wall and sat down. With his legs splayed out in exhaustion, he let his head fall forward lifelessly. This was the moment the reality of his situation had a chance to truly hit home. He was lost in another world, one that so far seemed filled with monsters. He looked at his hands lying in his lap. He saw one made of flesh and bone, a hand he had forged through a life of hardship. He had turned that life into something more, he became strong, he became a leader, a friend, and the beloved hero he always sought to prove he could be. He imagined that he could still see the faint scar left by the rod pain had put through it. He knew that in reality his body never kept scars for long, but it was still a reminder of the life he had led. The other was a metal weapon in the shape of false humanity. In it he saw all that he had given to that life. A family he never knew, a childhood he never had. The friends and teachers that were taken from him. It was a reminder that he had forever lost the life he had given everything to. Kurama continued to watch Naruto stare at his hands. As the light that always seemed to shine in the boy's eyes grew dim with a numbing despair, Kurama continued to watch and to think. No one knew Naruto like he did, as completely as he did. Sasuke knew him as the rival, a broken reflection of himself, so similar yet distinctly opposite. His friends saw his strength, the childish fool who was nothing but gained everything through an incredible will and endless determination. His teachers and elders saw their younger and more hopeful selves, the brighter future he could bring. Then there was his parents, a mother who saw a child she hoped to protect from all the darkness in the world, and a father who had absolute faith in the son who could banish that same darkness. Kurama simply saw Naruto Uzumaki. He had been there the day he came into this life, and he knew deep in his soul he would be there the day he left it. He saw him when he was strong, he knew him when he was weak. He saw the lonely child, then the fool who hid his seething anger and sorrow behind a grinning mask. Kurama was there to witness the hero, the man who could bring nations to their knees, but chose to place the world on his shoulders so he might raise it a bit more into the light. Yes, Kurama knew Naruto, and that was why he knew how to break him. The boy who had a will stronger than any perfect flame armor born by a Uchiha and a soul as mighty as a sage's fist. So why had Kurama nearly broken him so many times before? How had the fox tempted him almost beyond redemption on more than one occasion? It was because he knew him so well, he could tell when the boy was at his weakest, which words would cut him the most and when to say them. Which thoughts would pierce through his mental shields and corrupt him, these came easily to the fox. If not for the Yondaime and Jiraiya he would have destroyed Naruto long ago. So how could he not see what this moment was? With just a goal Naruto Uzumaki could reach unimaginable heights, but he had no goal here. To achieve his dreams Naruto Uzumaki could overcome any obstacle, but he had lost his dreams. To protect those precious to him Naruto Uzumaki could defeat any foe, bring hope to a hopeless world, he could create miracles, but he had no one here. This was Naruto at his lowest, the boy who feared solitude above all had only one friend he could turn to. Kurama watched the one he knew and realized he had a choice to make. He looked at what was once his most hated enemy and was now his closest friend, the one he could call family, a brother or perhaps a son. But what to say, he had to choose his words carefully for his words could shape their future in this world. Kurama cared for him, but because of that he also worried for him because Naruto was kind, and that was his greatest weakness. He never put himself first and always dedicated his life for others. Look and see what all his self-sacrifice had done, what all his kindness had gotten him. Nothing at all, and who could know what dangers this world held, but he knew that this lost soul would seek out a reason to go on, a cause he could fight for. A reason to die and suffer for. Kurama could nurture this pain and hatred into something colder and more ruthless. Wouldn't his friend suffer less, wouldn't his brother be better off without the no doubt petty troubles of this world? But would he still be Naruto? It was that almost mad desire to see the good in the world that had allowed him to see and understand others. All his life he was told that what lied within him was a demon, a monster, an embodiment of evil that sought only to destroy. Kurama had, in his rage at being imprisoned, made sure he never saw anything to contradict this, but it was this Naruto that had chosen to see the good in Kurama. Naruto watched as Kurama crawled onto his lap and held his paw out in a fist, despite having a lack of opposable fingers. Boy, you are not alone, you have never been alone, and even here you will not be alone. This is not the first time fate has left you with nothing, Kurama told Naruto in his mind. Ah, you better believe it, you old fox. This world better buckle the fuck up because Naruto Uzumaki is in town now, Naruto said with a grin and a growing warmth in his chest as he bumped his fist against what was once again his only companion in the world. They both stood up and Naruto placed Kurama on his head as they walked out of the cave to a view of a forest that stretched beyond sight beneath the noon sun. It was a new world to see and new trouble to cause. They had left behind all they knew, their loved ones, their home, hell, their entire world. They had also left behind their enemies, their troubles, their burdens, and all the hatred that had followed them throughout their lives. It was a new beginning. End chapter 2. Chapter 3 The World of Remnant. After Naruto had gathered his belongings he sat on the peak of the mountain where he had crashed to decide what to do from here. So I have my kunai, some shuriken, some ration pills, a bottle of sake from the chief toad, the extra bandage wrap from the hospital, and a small pack. Naruto said as he laid what little he had on him in between them. What's in it? Kurama asked as he looked everything over. I don't know, it wasn't on me when I went up to the Hokage mountain, I think Hagoromo must have placed it on me when we left, Naruto said as he began to open the small brown pack and flipped its contents onto the ground. What he saw shocked him to his soul. Lying in the middle of his things were some photographs. There was the one he took with the original Team 7, as well as one with Sai and Yamato. There was him with Jiraiya on their training trip and one with Shizune and Tsunade. There was Iruka and Naruto at the ramen stand with the Ichiraku family. He saw one he took with the Konoha 11 when he got back after his trip. Then one with the Konohamaru gang, next to one with Hiruzen. The last of them though did not have Naruto in it, at least he was not exactly visible, it was of his parents. His mother with a gentle smile and being very pregnant with one hand on her stomach and the other touching the hand at her shoulder, it was the hand of his father, who looked as happy as it was possible to be. Naruto had no pictures of his childhood that he knew of, nor did he have many taken throughout his life thus far. There wasn't much point as he hadn't always had people to take them with, so to see the few he did have here was a welcome surprise, as was the last item. Through watering eyes Naruto looked at what fell out last. It was a repaired Hokage necklace. Just as it was before he broke it while in a rage. Naruto picked up one of the photos in near disbelief. Kurama, can you believe he got them and even fixed you? What the hell, you damn fox, Naruto said as he saw Kurama smack the necklace into the air and towards the hole next to them. Naruto dove for it and just managed to snag it by the cord before it fell into the darkness. HMMP, I never liked the damn thing. Keep it if you must, but if it breaks again don't expect any tears out of me, and besides why couldn't the old man have packed some tools or food instead of some silly paper, Kurama said with a small scowl. You can be real heartless sometimes, you damn bastard, but fine, let's talk about a plan for now. Do you have any ideas on what we should do, said Naruto as he packed away his things, put on the necklace and laid down with his hands behind his head. Yes, I saw a river north of here on the way down. If there is any civilization here they will need a clean source of water so we can follow the river for now. Kurama told him as he climbed atop Naruto and sat down on his chest. Then we grab the first guy we find and mind jutsu him, right? Naruto said. No, we should be careful who we choose. We don't want some ignorant kid who doesn't really know what the world is like. Kurama eyed Naruto as he said this, hinting at a particularly ignorant new genin. Naruto expertly ignored this. A merchant or government worker would be good, but military should be our target, Kurama finished and looked at his friend. Yeah, that's what I meant to say, Naruto told him without shame as he closed his eyes with a grin and ignored Kurama's hard stare. Naruto, how do you feel after using that energy? Kurama asked after a moment. Fine, actually, I didn't feel much of a drain of power when we fought, and what did get used up is back after some rest. Same as chakra, I guess, Naruto said after a moment of thought. Hey Kurama, how did you use it to breath fire? All it did for me was protect me, and I felt stronger too. Kind of like a reduced sage mode or chakra cloak. Naruto asked. Naruto was curious if he too could use this energy in different ways like chakra. Not sure kid, I just relied on instinct and that happened. I also don't think that's all I can do with fire, I can tell it was just a part of it. Kurama told him as he looked around. You're probably tired by now, take a nap brat. I will keep an eye out for more of those things, Kurama said. Naruto yawned before replying. Thanks you old softy, wake me up in a bit so I can set up a camp for the night and look through that cave. It was the next morning when the duo set out again after napping yesterday afternoon away. Naruto had also taken the time to wrap his metal limb in bandages, so it would be less obvious, though if he had to use the weapons hidden inside they would be torn off. As Kurama had said, there was a river just a few miles north, it could just be seen from the top of the small mountain he was on, but he ran into trouble before he even got there. This trouble made Naruto realize that he will need to practice this strange power. It started when he leapt from the mountain towards one of the tall and strangely dark trees. After he missed his targeted branch and crashed into one of the lower ones, he attempted to grip using his energy, only to find it did not work as he fell the rest of the way down. Kurama had bailed the moment he made the jump and made it down himself shortly after by one of the mountain trails. Kurama, everything hurts. This power sucks, why didn't it protect me? Naruto asked the fox while groaning. You probably need practice brat, from what I can see it's not even activated. We also already knew it was different, so why did you literally leap before you looked it over more? Kurama lectured the boy as he walked over. It took a minute for him to sense that the fox was right, he was not used to this power, and it had fallen back into a dormant state. He reached within him and felt the energy respond in an instant, soon his injuries faded away as a blue power came from his body. It really is different from chakra, Kurama, I just tried to do what I always did, but it's not the same kind of feeling. Naruto said. He stood again and pretended to not see Kurama look at him like he was doubting the boy could think before he did anything. Come on tiny Kurama, let's try this again, I think I can just keep it going now. Naruto said. He picked up Kurama as he talked and leapt into the branches. It was only because he was used to using chakra that Naruto fell previously. Even without any inner power he could leap through a forest with speed far beyond a normal human's. So the world's oddest duo soon arrived at the river and followed it for the rest of the day. As they went, Naruto practiced activating and turning on this strange power within him. He found that while it could not let him laugh in the face of gravity, it could shield him. It was not quite the invulnerability of Sage Mode, but it was close and lasted far longer. He did not know what levels of power there were in this world, but his never ran dry after using it for much of the day. The healing was also nice, along the way he would turn off the power and nick himself with a kunai, then turn it on and watch it heal. Near the end of the day he noticed that the healing was slightly slower, it was not something most of the residents of either world would notice, but few had been healed as often and with as many different ways as he had. After discussing it with Kurama, they came to the conclusion that his healing would depend on how much energy he had left, and after a certain point, it would probably slow and then stop. The enhancement to his speed and strength was different. It was not the same as chakra, but Naruto felt that he could go faster and be stronger. He believed he could keep pushing himself again and again, it was as if this power drew out his potential to its current limit, then let him break past. It was odd but felt just as natural as chakra after he got used to it. As night fell he stopped at the tallest tree in the area and in the distance he could see the lights of a small village. What do you think, Fox, should we head in now and check out the locals? Naruto asked as he gazed at the civilization of another world and wondered what they would be like. No, let's wait till morning. I want to see what I can do with this power first and they will be less cautious during the day. Kurama told him as he could not work with fire while traveling on Naruto's head, at least not after he had nearly set the man's hair alight on the first try. At the base of the tree Naruto set Kurama down and leaned against the trunk. He then watched the fox with excitement. For the first 10 minutes anyway before he got bored of watching him sit on his haunches and concentrate do nothing. Hurry up Kurama, we need a fire, it's getting cold out here, Naruto complained. Brat, do you think I am some fucking lighter? I'm almost ready anyway, so watch and for once in your life try to learn, Kurama shouted at the young sage who somehow had the patience of a toddler. Naruto did watch as Kurama once again blew out a stream of fire, but to his shock, the flame quickly swirled around the fox, forming a dome of intense heat and scorching flame, obscuring Kurama from view. The dome died down an instant later, but where the small fox had been now stood a hellfire beast. The creature was as tall as Naruto at its shoulders. It only had one tail, but still appeared to be Kurama. If Kurama had a blood-red pelt that shifted between real fur and a dark red flame. When it shifted, small sparks and flames would be left flowing in the air. "Kurama, is that you?" Naruto asked in amazement. "Of course it's me, who else is this majestic and powerful?" Kurama said with a grin that revealed a mouth full of sharp fangs. "Wow, you really are amazing. But it is getting late and I figured you might be tired, so let me make a bed for you," Naruto said as he gathered some wood and stones into a campfire. Kurama snorted in annoyance and swiped his claw at Naruto. Fire shot at Naruto in the shape of claws so fast he almost did not dodge in time, but at least the campfire was started. The next morning found Naruto perched on a hill above a small town of perhaps a few hundred people with Kurama perched on his head. Both watched the people move about on their ordinary day. "Well, at least they look normal," Naruto said with some relief. "Not all of them, some seem to be part animal. They might be part of a different race," Kurama said as he noticed a few odd-looking humans, some obvious and some not. "So we just find the right person and see if it works right," Naruto said as he prepared to sneak into town. "No, I don't think we will have the chance. Look at the east side, there is a large group coming in fast, probably bandits. This was probably well planned, they are going for the kill in the morning when people let down their guard. There most likely isn't another place they can call for help quickly enough to arrive either," Kurama said with little emotion. He was not too surprised as he wondered at the strange luck Naruto had for bandits to attack a village on the same day he arrived. What the hell? Damn bastards think they can do whatever they want with Naruto Uzumaki around, huh? Naruto said as he immediately readied himself for a fight. "Naruto, stop, you shouldn't rush to interfere. It's not your fight," Kurama said before the blonde could head down. "So I should just do nothing? Let those people die while we just stand here and watch?" "Kurama, we have to go," Naruto said as he started down the hill. "Why, Naruto, you don't know those people. You have nothing to prove to anyone here. You don't even know how to fully use your new power and you have no idea what they might be capable of. You can just do nothing," Kurama said. His words again stopped Naruto and the fox watched as the boy seemed to actually consider his words. "Kurama, we need someone who knows how to survive in this world, right? Someone who can fight, a guy who knows the world well enough to bring together a group large enough to attack a town without fear," Naruto said with his eyes nearly shut as he frowned in thought. Kurama also thought about it for a moment. "You might be onto something here, boy, but is that really the reason you will go down there or just an excuse?" the fox asked. Naruto looked at the town, but his gaze seemed to see something far more distant. "I saw too many bastards stand by and watch when I was a kid. I won't be one of them," Naruto said as he headed down. Crow had a problem, well actually he had lots of problems, but two seemed more urgent for now. One was the massive hangover he had from a night of celebrating. What was he celebrating? Why, getting rid of a nasty hangover, of course. The second problem was that bandits were attacking the speck of a town he was in. He could hardly stand by and allow a town with such pretty bartenders to be destroyed. Besides, he didn't like bandits, though hopefully they were not connected to his sister. That was unlikely as she tended to rule with an iron fist and probably knew he was in the area. He had come here to investigate a report on a possible grim created by the big bad witch. Oh, sorry, he meant bitch. Too long spent watching his language around kids. Crow planned to ready himself here before checking things out tomorrow, but as usual bandits had to cause him problems. So the tall warrior heaved himself from the couch in the hotel lobby as he did not make it back to the room last night. Hell, he had only woken up because the panicked counter girl had remembered he was a hunter. Then he made his way to the window to assess the situation. The situation was a very large and very bald man with a tan complexion. He stood at the front of perhaps few dozen armed men in the main street of the town, just below the window Crow had stationed himself, which made it obvious that the gate guards had not been able to stop him. He had a massive grey hammer with a spike at the pommel that he had rested against his shoulder. He had apparently decided to try to intimidate and rob the town instead of burn it down, or maybe he planned to burn it after he robbed it. Just as the jolly bald giant was no doubt going to deliver his pay or die speech, he stopped and looked at the other end of the road towards the west entrance of the town. There he and Crow spotted a young blonde man that was running towards the bandit mob. At first Crow thought it was a faunus because he seemed to have fox ears, but as he came closer, Crow could see it was an actual fox on his head. The boy wore a loose white shirt and orange pants. He had a steel plate on a black headband with a symbol he could not make out from here. What he could see as the boy stopped before the crowd was that he clearly intended to fight. That was probably a bad idea. Crow didn't know who this kid was, but he had heard of this particular bandit. It was kin to his job to know these things, and he still had some contacts from the clan days. This vision of the perfect thug was Vant the Vicious. Crow had laughed at the name when he heard it the first time, but the man did have an annoying semblance that he called Juggernaut. The man had incredible strength and an aura shield far stronger than normal, so most physical attacks were nullified before contact. Crow opened the window so he could jump down and save the kid. Vant wasn't much to someone of his level, but some small town kid playing hero would be a goner. That was the plan, but before he could react the blonde picked up his pace to an inhuman degree and too fast for anyone to react, he had slammed into the giant. But Vant's semblance even this mighty blow was reduced to almost nothing and everyone expected the brave young man would be killed before anybody could help. But as Crow watched a far smaller man used his leftover momentum to swing behind the bandit. He then climbed onto his enemy's shoulders and slammed his hands onto Vant's bald head. Crow jumped from the window and prepared to intervene after the second ineffective attack, but when he reached the ground, he stood still in shock as the man easily twice his size fell to the ground unconscious. The blonde seemed to be in a daze as well for a moment, then he turned to the rest of Vant's men and shouted at them to surrender or he's kicked their asses. So warrior poet he was not. Crow understood his plan, to take advantage of the shock they must feel seeing their leader get taken down so easily and frighten them into submission before they have time to think. Crow took out his weapon and stepped up to the blonde's side to add to the impact. He saw one of the men take a step forward, but he didn't have a chance to say a word before the stranger threw a blade imbued with what he knew was aura. It meant the kid was trained though he had guessed that already from the fallen Goliath a few steps away. It slashed past the bandit's neck close enough to leave a line of blood on his lower jaw. Crow then watched a young man put another blade to the throat of Vant. The look in his eyes was as cold as death. "I suggest you listen and drop your weapons," Crow said. He saw the men begin to drop them and he signaled the town guards who had gathered at last to round them up and restrain them. Crow turned to the young man who he now could see was probably around the same age as his oldest niece. "So who are you then?" he asked. The blonde let a grin show on his face as he placed his hands on his hips and practically shouted Naruto Uzumaki. Chapter 4. The Crow. Within the seal of Naruto's mindscape were Naruto and Kurama. They had found themselves here after using the technique on the large bald man they thought was the bandit leader. The moment they arrived both were assaulted by the vast information of the mind technique. Both were left convulsing on the ground as a new language and culture was forcefully implanted into them. After what felt like hours the power of Hagoromo ended and a short while later, Naruto recovered as he sat himself up and looked over at Kurama. "Well Kurama, can you understand me?" Naruto asked in the language of this world. "Yes I do, it seems like the information was absorbed. Still I was expecting to know more about this person, but we seem to have only parts of his knowledge and not his memories," Kurama said. "Maybe it was intentional, look at what just the common knowledge he knew did to us. Can you imagine what every memory of his life would be like, this way we have what we need without being influenced by who he was," Naruto said as he stood. "So I guess we should handle whatever is going on outside then. I think I know how to handle this aura stuff better now. I might even be ready to awaken my semblance like you did," Naruto said as he left the confines of his own mind. After Naruto dealt with the bandits he was ready to leave town and go over what he had learned when the man who had first stepped forward to help stopped him to talk. "So who are you then?" the stranger asked. Naruto got into a pose out of habit so as to impress onto the man how amazing he was, a habit required when everyone seemed intent to ignore you as a kid and solidified when you have a natural showman like Jiraiya as a teacher. "Naruto Uzumaki," he said in the volume he felt his name deserved. Naruto saw the man take a long look at him before he replied with a relaxed tone. "Naruto Uzumaki, Well Naruto, that was not too bad, you have quite the intimidating look. Scared them stiff after you took out the big guy. You can call me Crow," the man introduced himself. "Nice to meet you Crow, thanks for the help there. I'll see you around K," Naruto said as he prepared to leave and avoid any more attention. "Whoa there Naruto, how about we talk, I doubt you're from around here. I'm a hunter from Beacon and I would like to hear how you came to this village and maybe where you're going from here," Crow said. "Sorry but I got places to be," Naruto said as he tried to leave again. "Are you sure? I could even treat you to lunch." Crow had never met a man Naruto's age who was not hungry. Naruto stopped and thought over his lack of any currency for this world and that he had only eaten rations since his arrival. "I guess I can spare some time," Naruto said. They went to a restaurant Crow suggested that served noodle dishes. Crow was curious about the stranger in front of him. He wasn't sure how he took down Vant so quickly, but he guessed it had to do with a semblance. He saw a lot of talented young men and women as a teacher and as a colleague of Osman, but he rarely saw someone this good and this young. There were a few, but they always seemed to have a story to tell, and those stories tended to be tales of woe and pain or some extraordinary circumstance. People had to be pushed to get that good. "So who taught him and where is he from?" "So Naruto, you're not from around here, right?" Crow decided to start easy and give the kid a chance to talk about himself. He saw the kid glance at the fox next to him before answering, that was a bit odd. "Nope," Naruto said. "Well, where are you from then?" he asked again. "The village," Naruto said after glancing at the fox next to him again. "Oh, a village, and where is it?" Crow asked. "In a forest," Naruto said. Crow had again seen Naruto glance at the fox beside him before answering and was beginning to wonder why. Most people would assume it was nothing, but most people haven't met a dog like Sway before. "So are you visiting family in the town?" Crow asked as he took a roundabout approach. "Don't have any," Naruto said immediately without looking at Kurama. "In the area then?" Crow asked with a sinking feeling about the question. "No, I don't have any family or anybody anymore." "Oh, sorry, I do have Kurama," Naruto said as Kurama smacked him with his tail. The bitter expression that appeared on his face disappeared as soon as it showed up after Kurama's intervention. Now Crow felt like he finally got something. A shame it was one of his more depressing guesses. "So then can I assume that you have left your home, assuming it still exists, and you don't really have a destination in mind?" Crow asked without dwelling on what was probably a past the man wanted to forget. "Yeah, you could say that." "Why all the questions?" Naruto asked with a bit of suspicion on why this stranger was trying to dig up his past right after meeting. Naruto considered himself a good judge of character, he was rarely wrong about someone, and though he had made a few mistakes before he could tell Crow was a decent man. In a way he reminded him of a more laid-back Jiraiya, but also like his old teacher, the man seemed like someone who was more than he let on. "Well, Naruto, I happen to be good friends with most of the headmasters of the Huntsman Academies, you have some potential, and it's clear you have experience, but I'm willing to bet you don't have a lot of time spent in the wider world. Have you considered joining one of the academies?" Crow asked this with some ulterior motives. The man was good but little older than a kid, and with no money and no contacts, he was just the type bandits or worse, the people he was on the lookout for would attempt to recruit. Better to beat them to the punch. Besides, a good man who would step up and take action was always best to have on your side. "I have thought about it," Naruto said. Honestly, the academies were one of the places that stuck out to him when he gained some info on this world, for a couple reasons. The Huntsman Academies would take in anyone who could pass their tests with little to no background work so as to entice people from outside the kingdoms who might not have a documented past. They also provided housing and meals to their students on the government's dime, along with a dust stipend that could be repaid after graduation if you don't gain the full scholarship. They could provide all the connections he would need to live in this world and asked for little more than the oath to serve humanity in its fight against the Grim. From what Naruto had seen of the creatures, he had no problem with that. He also definitely wanted to try using dust, the stuff seemed amazing to him. However, it was no easy thing to just join without going through a training school, and a recommendation would go a long way to helping if he had any problems. "I could help, and you can probably pass the combat test easily. How do you think you would do with a written exam?" Crow said. Crow saw the look of despair on Naruto's face at the mention of a written exam. "I can guess that would be bad. Well, it's not a large part of the score anyway, but if you were to go to Beacon, the written test could be forgotten. Ozpin is the headmaster there and he believes in giving people chances," Crow said. Naruto gave Crow skeptical gaze. "So you will do that out of pure generosity then?" Naruto asked. One thing Naruto had learned was to look a gift horse in the mouth. No one went out of their way like this without a reason. "I trust my instincts, Naruto, and right now it is telling me that our meeting is an opportunity for the both of us. You are right though, I don't know you, so I am going to need two things. One is for you to tell me more about you," Crow said as he leaned forward over the table. "And the other thing?" Naruto asked. "Let's get to that after the first. I want to know how you took Fant down so easily." "He wasn't all that tough, but that looked a little too easy," Crow told him flatly. Crow saw Naruto share a long look with Kurama again before he answered. "Sorry, Crow, but maybe being a huntsman isn't for me. I can barely keep myself alive. I don't need to deal with the troubles of the rest of the world," Naruto responded with a bitter look in his eyes as he got up to leave. Crow grabbed his arm and gave him a long look. "Naruto, if you don't want to have a warm share feelings time then fine, that's not really my thing anyway, but let me take a guess instead, and if I'm right you sit down and listen a while longer, okay kid?" Crow said. Before Naruto could even give an answer, he continued. "I bet you were dealt a crap hand in life, right? Probably early on, maybe from day one. You could never catch a break, huh? I know what that is like, Naruto, and I bet you realize quick the only way you could stack the deck in your favor was to become strong, to have enough strength to make your own luck. That's the kind of person you look like to me. The kind of people that choose to fight back, either want to make the world better or want to burn it down. Maybe you didn't always make the right choice, but the second kind of person wouldn't have stepped in to help a bunch of strangers like you did. So one last guess on your life story, kid. I bet that life dealt you another crap hand, and despite everything you did you still lost what really matters to you. Well, am I right, Naruto?" Crow said. He watched as Naruto sat down. "Look, Naruto, I'm not asking you to become some knight of justice. You can go to an academy and use it to set up a new life, you can even ignore any obligation they ask of you, wouldn't be the first huntsman to turn their back on the kingdoms, and not the last either. Crow paused with a conflicted look in his eyes as he said this. However, it may also give you a chance to find a new purpose. If you let this chance pass you by, you might be fine, but fighters will always find conflict. You can ignore the world, but it won't ignore you, kid. What kind of a person will you be in the years to come, huh? Maybe someone not much different than a bandit. Crow could see the struggle within Naruto's eyes, and he realized how much this kid reminded him of Taiyang Xiaolong back when he lost Summer. He seemed to be the kind of man who used to never doubt himself. An absolute confidence that was recently shattered. That was probably why he was willing to go so far to set him on a better path. The way I took down the bandit was a semblance but not mine. I had a friend who could place a delayed reaction to his ability, what else you want to know? Naruto said before he began to eat again. That sound like a powerful semblance, is he still around? Crow asked. No, he and everyone in my village is gone. It's only Kurama and me now. Naruto said as he stared into his bowl. Crow looked at him for a moment before he started again. I am sorry to hear that. So are you willing to go to Beacon? Crow asked. Naruto raised his head and looked at Crow. No, I think I'll head to Haven. Chapter 5 A New Power. Naruto laid on the bed in the room Crow had provided the wayward teen. He was thinking over his decision. The Hunter Academies were a hub of information and provided a decent start to his new life. It was true that Beacon would be a better fit, but experience had taught Naruto that anyone who took that much interest in his future was working some kind of angle. Even or perhaps especially if they thought it was for his own good. He and Kurama also suspected that if he had refused the offer entirely, Crow would not have dropped the matter as easily as he said he would. It wouldn't be easy to simply fade into the background of this world if someone he suspected was some kind of informant or scout for this Osban guy decided to keep an eye on him. He knew his story had a lot of holes, so he decided to go along with Crow's suggestion, but he would not go to Beacon, where Osban would have a chance to pry deeper into his past. Haven would likely also be influenced, but he already planned to enter without Crow's recommendation and rely on the fact that the combat exam was the most important section for entry. It was best to play along for now, but Naruto had no intention of joining any side or organization in this world. For the first time in his life, no one was in charge of him, there was no Hokage sensei to direct him. He had no clear path to follow, it was both terrifying and exhilarating. After thinking over his future plans once more, Naruto sat on the floor and assumed the pose he took when learning to sense nature chakra. Soon he entered a meditative state. Naruto was attempting to awaken his semblance, despite how new he was to the very concept of aura. Naruto was confident he would succeed. He had watched Kurama when he achieved his altered form and had the vague memories from the bandit who had managed to learn to use aura, not to mention the many years he had used chakra, and the skills he learned through sage training were an advantage he had over anyone in this world. Though perhaps the greatest advantage he had was instinct. Naruto never had the ability to weave complex jutsu easily, skills like ninjutsu would always be difficult, but the manipulation of raw chakra was his specialty. Despite his massive reserves, he had always excelled when it came to any skill that relied on instinct and hands-on practice, from the Rasengan to the sensing of nature chakra and the control of Kurama's chakra cloak. That was where his confidence came from. While he was sure there were advanced techniques on aura manipulation out there and beyond a simple bandit's knowledge, aura seemed to be more about wielding and manipulating energy than complex calculations. The semblance aspect was even more to his style, an ability unique to each person and drawn from their soul. It was like an individual Kekkei Genkai tailor-made for each person. Naruto had no doubts about the strength of his soul, and his life had forged his will into something unbreakable. If a semblance was something that lied deep in a person's soul and was drawn out by their will, how could he possibly fail? In his mental state, time seemed to cease as he delved into himself, deeper and deeper. He explored this new energy and its connection to his soul. Naruto wasn't sure how much time had passed before his soul seemed to ripple outward as it sought to interact with the material plane of this world. Naruto seemed to become still like the grave as even his internal energy ceased to move. This stillness felt as if it would last forever, and yet it ended in an instant as he felt his existence try to spit itself in two. Naruto knew that he had achieved success. He opened his eyes as the energy channeled down his limbs. He watched as pure power gained substance and seemed to gather in the air just above his palms. Soon two perfect spheres of energy gathered above his open hands. They were easily half the size of a Rasengan, but he suspected he could easily change that by willing it. What truly caught his attention was the differences between them. One was above his mechanical limb, it appeared to be made of light with a silvery sheen, within its depths, a golden hue seemed to flow in unpredictable patterns. He had an idea of its purpose, and he concentrated as he willed it to obey. The sphere rippled, becoming more solid, only the golden glow within continued to flow. Naruto closed his fist around it, exerting all the strength his mechanical arm could muster. He could hear his metal fingers start to creak, and yet the orb gave no ground, no, on the contrary, he could almost sense a force within that wanted to push back, if only he allowed it. He released his grip, and the orb went back to floating. Naruto once again sent his will, and though it felt more difficult, the orb began to change, to match the new image in his mind. It lost its solid look and became like floating liquid that stretched out to a sharpened spike before becoming solid again. Naruto again allowed it to become a sphere as he thought over the possibilities. With time and practice he could likely form many simple things, limited only by his creativity. Its size could be altered by adding more power, and its hardness came from his will. Naruto grinned. Creativity, strength of will and raw power, when had he ever lacked in these traits? It would take time to find the limits, but he was in no rush. With a thought, the silver-white orb dissipated. Naruto turned his attention to the orb floating over his left hand, the one formed from darkness with flickers of violent red light deep within. It seemed to be a contrast to its counterpart, a gas or vapor that stayed a perfect sphere. It gave him an ominous feeling. Naruto could feel a slight breeze, a current of air that was slowly pulled towards the center of his hand. He knew what was causing it, just as he could tell the purpose of the light orb. He could easily guess the basic function of the dark orb. Naruto grabbed a kunai from his pouch and raised it just above his left hand and the dark orb. Without hesitation he brought the blade down with a slash that would split his hand in two if it touched, but it never did. As the blade made contact with the orb, it entered with only the lightest of resistance. What came out was nothing. Naruto was left holding a handle, and less than half a blade, the top half had disappeared. The orb was destroying anything it touched, even the air that made contact was consumed. "What do you think, Kurama?" Naruto asked the fox laying on a pillow at the edge of the bed. "Truth-seeking balls, if I had to take a guess, but not quite the same. My best guess is that if these semblances are a manifestation of the inner self, then perhaps yours represent the duality of your personality, Naruto. You have to admit that despite your determination to hold to a brighter outlook, you have always had a destructive side. We both saw that part of you within the seal," Kurama said after a moment of thought. Naruto stared down at the darkness quietly floating above his hand for a moment before he responded in a despondent tone. "So what are you saying, Kurama? That deep down I want to destroy everything I touch?" Naruto said. "I would have thought you knew better than that by now, Naruto. Destruction does not mean evil, anger should not be ignored. Those things have always been a part of human nature, yours especially, but you have always used such things as your tools, not the other way around," Kurama said. You're right, Kurama, but what do you think yours represents?" Naruto asked. "I have always had an affinity with flame, it matches my personality. Besides, this whole discussion is just a guess, not even the people of this world are sure of what causes different semblances. This is all based on a theory some bandit had heard from rumors and some general gossip. It's best not to worry about it too much and concentrate on learning about your new abilities," Kurama said. "You're right, it's about how I use my power. I'm not the confused kid I was. I won't forget what I learned from my darker self. But I wonder what I can do with these. The first one has clear possibilities, but I'm not sure where to start with this one," Naruto said. "Luckily you have experience with something similar, but first I am curious if you can actually touch this dark orb physically with your flesh. It does not give off the same destructive feeling as the Uchiha's black flames, but it seems to consume all matter that touches it automatically. How much control over it do you have?" Kurama asked. Naruto gazed at the orb for a moment before slowly bringing his index finger closer, while being careful not to subconsciously reduce its power. He watched carefully as the top of his finger made contact, but he felt no pain and saw no injury. Naruto decided to risk it. His finger passed through without harm, as if through smoke or steam. It was good to know he apparently did not have to concentrate to avoid his own ability hurting him. Naruto raised his right hand and began to move his metal finger closer to the orb as well, however he was stopped. "Naruto, wait, do you have your aura actively covering your hands?" Kurama asked. Yeah, I do. Why, what's up?" Naruto asked. "It's possible that because this ability comes from your aura it won't react. You likely cover your metal limb from instinct because you feel that is where your original limb would be. You should expose the edge of your finger to see," Kurama said. Naruto did so and watched as his metal finger entered the orb. When he retracted it, he saw the top of his finger was shiny, the topmost layer was stripped smooth. Kurama was right, it would not consume anything coated with his aura. That was good to know and made him realize he could have very easily lost his finger before. That would have sucked. Naruto gained a determined expression as he released his concentration and allowed the orb to dissipate. He turned his gaze back to Kurama, who gazed back while lazily flicking his tail. "We have a lot to do, Kurama. Even with my experience with the truth-seeking balls, these will take time to master. I have a good idea of what they can do, but I'll need practice." That includes getting used to this arm and fighting with aura. Those Grimm we met were nasty, but even without chakra, they shouldn't have given me that much trouble. We also have to see what the limit of our connection is. Now that we know more, I can tell our connection isn't just mental. The reason we came out of that landing mostly unharmed and not drained was from some kind of reaction to mixing our powers. There just seems to be a lot we still don't know. Naruto said, his words seemed to imply worry, but the grin on his face said it all. New powers to master and a new world to see, it brought back memories and a direction he could follow. Chapter 6. A Crawling Darkness. The next morning Naruto met up with Crow in the lobby of the hotel. He had spent the previous day holed up on his room to practice his semblance. The only time he had left was to join Crow for dinner, where the huntsman explained that the second thing he needed was a lookout for a job. As Crow drank enough liquor to impress Tsunade, he explained why. Crow was on what he hoped was a nonsense lead about some strange Grimm in the area. He questioned the lead because the few people who claimed to have seen it stated that the shadows ate people. As crazy as this sounded, Grimm did come in bizarre shapes at times, so he had tracked down the stories to its last sighting. A cave west of town, the rumor he had heard was a scary story about a monster Grimm dragging people down a hole to consume. His last informant had told him there was such a place with a hole the perfect size for a single person to climb down or get dragged into. Crow knew his luck and was no fool. If there was any Grimm down there, he needed someone to watch the exit. He didn't need to climb down, transforming and flying down was the easiest method, but this was starting to seem like a perfect trap for unsuspecting huntsmen, well known for their mobility. Naruto would have a simple job, stand by the hole with some extra rope just in case it broke, or some random Grimm just happened to wander by and seal his only known exit. Naruto continued to stuff his mouth as he nodded in agreement. He had no plans to even use Crow's recommendation, and he suspected the older man knew that, but he had paid for his room and 2 meals so far. It wouldn't be hard to repay the man for his generosity, despite suspecting half the reason he was invited to tag along was to see if Crow could pry any more secrets from him. The meal ended with Crow heading to the bars and Naruto back to training. It was a rather nostalgic end to a day. "Hey Crow, I'm ready when you are," Naruto said as he arrived. "Good to hear, kid. Now remember, I just need you to keep a lookout, no heroics needed." "I wouldn't have asked, but this whole thing is probably nonsense, and it would be days before I can get anyone qualified out here," Crow replied as he walked out the door with Naruto half a step behind and Kurama atop the blonde's head. "Yeah, no problem, Gramps, I can watch your back," Naruto said as they entered the main street of the small town. "Hey kid, I ain't nowhere near old enough to be called Gramps by anyone," Crow said as he gave Naruto a hard stare. "Yeah, sure thing, old man," Naruto said. "Don't call me old. I am not old, you brat." Crow sounded genuinely insulted by the remark. This conversation continued for most of the morning. It was noon when they arrived. Crow stopped on a hill overlooking a river curving around a large hill with a cave just a dozen paces from the inside curve of the river. "There it is, so the plan is so simple, even a toddler such as yourself remembers it, right?" Crow said as they approached the entrance. "I remember, guard the rope and the exit, and don't interfere with the senior citizens." "Oh sorry, I meant a seasoned huntman's work," Naruto said with a grin as they inspected the entrance for tracks. They found nothing visible even to their trained eyes, but that in itself was a concern. A cave this close to water would normally have been inhabited by some animals. The cave floor was clear of any remains, and the stone floor was oddly clear of dirt around the hole leading down. Naruto immediately walked a few steps from the hole and kneeled down to hammer a climbing bolt Crow had given him into the stone while Crow got out his rope. In just a short while they were ready, but before he went down, Crow paused a moment and glanced at Naruto. He hadn't been completely honest. The possibility that this was a wild goose chase was still there, however now that he was here the idea that this was a trap was practically confirmed. That was why he needed to introduce a variable into the plan. Something his enemy wouldn't expect. Naruto certainly fit the bill. There was also the possibility that his new ally was a part of the trap, but Crow just couldn't see it. This lead was weeks old, so he doubted any humans would be waiting this long on the off chance he came by. Even if that was the case, the young man was too noticeable. They wouldn't send someone like this to lure in Crow. No, anyone sent for that would be a woman, innocent and with some sob story about how her daddy was trapped. That had actually been the case once. The next morning the dad had gotten closer to killing him than the death stalker he had saved him from. Crow had since learned to make sure the door was locked. Despite just meeting him, Crow got the feeling he could place a bit of trust in Naruto. Hopefully, if he was wrong and Naruto was some devious master spy under the orders of his enemies, then he had truly been fooled. As Crow watched Naruto, he saw the teen staring into the eyes of his pet fox. It took a moment to realize they were apparently having a staring contest, one that Naruto was about to lose because he didn't notice that Kurama was waving his tail just enough for a breeze to hit Naruto's face. Crow began to climb down, reassured that Naruto was no mastermind out to stab him in the back. The last sight he saw was Naruto realizing what was going on and seeing him began blowing air as hard as he could in the fox's direction. Crow descended into the darkness with a new worry, the hardened warrior he had entrusted his back to was definitely still a teenage boy. Let's call it a draw, Kurama, we should be ready whenever this goes to hell. Naruto made sure not to speak out loud as he sat against the back of the cave where he had a good sight of both the entrance and the whole crow had went down. I would have won in the end, but fine. Why do you think this is a trap for Crow? Maybe this is all a ploy to earn our trust or trap us instead, Kurama asked as he peered over the edge of the pit and tilted his ears to better listen for odd sounds. Nah, I think Crow is a decent guy, but I definitely know this is a trap. It's Orochimaru's favorite trick, lure your enemy below ground then bam ambush. It's happened to Jiraiya a lot and I get the feeling this Crow guy has a similar job. It kind of feels like I'm traveling with Jiraiya again, Naruto said. If you're that sure, why are we here? Let's just bail, Kurama said this, but he didn't move from his post. He already had an idea why they were staying. I'm not going to jump into any conflict blind, Kurama, but we need allies, and Crow apparently works for the headmaster of one of the top academies in the kingdoms. That's a good person to have owe us a favor, Naruto said. And? Kurama asked. He knew that answer came from the ninja that had hoped to lead a village, he also knew there was more to it than that. Naruto didn't help people just based on what they could do for him, but he was happy that Naruto was trying to think further ahead. Naruto didn't bother trying to deny it. He really does remind me of Jiraiya and Jiraiya did his best investigating alone. I think Crow is the same so he wouldn't risk asking a stranger for any help unless he had to. He knows this might be a trap and he's willing to trust us, Naruto said. And? Kurama asked again. And I don't want somebody to come home and find out their friend or family died alone in some fucking cave because they didn't have enough sense not to walk into a trap without enough backup. I know we don't really know the guy, I know he's not actually Jiraiya, but it feels the same and I can be here this time, Naruto finished. Fine, it's not like we have anything better to do, Kurama's ears twitched and he continued, I think he reached the bottom, this thing's pretty deep then. Crow had indeed reached the bottom where he found a massive cavern, there was a wall a dozen steps behind him, and from the low roar he could tell the river was likely on the other side of a few feet of stone. Crow held a flashlight in hand and he could just make out the far side directly in front. It was irregular in shape, but he estimated the cavern to be around the size of Beacon's main lunch hall. It was also filled with dead people. Scattered around the cavern floor was at least a few dozen skeletons, it was easy to tell that they came from humans because they were mostly intact but picked clean of flesh. So it wasn't a ghost story, but was it a trap? Crow took 2 steps before he found out. With the second step he heard a grinding sound as a pressure switch went off and a metal plate with a sharpened edge and hidden next to his entrance slid into place and cutting cleanly through the rope as it sealed off his escape route. This was obviously not the work of even the most intelligent of Grimm. It was a death trap, he didn't know if it was set just for him, but it had clearly been used to trap quite a few innocent bystanders. The question was what had they been trapped inside with? That question was answered when the darkest shadows to his far right started to squirm before they rushed towards him. Naruto, something happened, pull up the rope, Kurama said urgently. Naruto was quick to comply and it was a moment later that they both saw the cut-off end of the rope. Naruto immediately wrapped the rope around his arm. Kurama, you guard the exit, I'm going down. Naruto did not wait for a reply before he jumped into the hole. There was no time for a slow climb down, when he felt the rope begin to run out, he braced himself and channeled his aura. With a reverberating thud he landed, it was hard and jarring, but nothing he couldn't handle. He had clearly landed on metal, this was no accident. It was clear now that this was a trap, but Naruto didn't hesitate to summon his semblance, and with a second of concentration a silver light from his right hand showed his surroundings. He jammed his legs up against the walls and lowered the dark orb in his other hand to the floor. Naruto had found that altering the shape of the dark orb was far more difficult than its counterpart, but expanding it was incredibly easy, and in an instant it had expanded and consumed the metal blocking the exit. He knew the glow from the light orb would give him away, so he didn't bother trying to observe unnoticed, he dropped down into the cavern. When he landed, Naruto was shocked for a moment, on the far side of the cavern, the shadows really did seem to be attacking Crow. Naruto concentrated his aura on his light orb, its dim light brightened to fill most of the cavern with a sliver glow and revealing what Crow was really fighting. Naruto felt a shiver run up his spine at the sight. Spiders, thousands and thousands of black spiders with blazing red eyes. The smallest and most numerous were the size of his thumb, the largest was nearly the size of Kurama in his smaller form. They all had large white fangs and sharp pointed legs. Naruto watched as Crow dashed around the cavern at incredible speeds while the small sea of spider Grimm swarmed over each other with swift twitchy movements to surround him. Crow appeared far from worried though as he never stopped moving and never stopped swinging a massive scythe that Naruto would swear he did not bring down here. It was at that moment that both Crow and the swarm noticed him. Crow waved, the swarm split in two with half sweeping toward him in a chattering wave. Naruto held out his light orb which rippled and expanded, forming a crudely shaped shield large enough to guard most of his body as he dashed backward to have the wall to his back. In any other situation he would join Crow and keep their backs to each other to limit the directions the enemy could come from. Naruto was confident he could keep up with the swift huntsmen as they wore down the enemy one by one. Naruto could see however that the normal battle plan for being surrounded wouldn't work. He watched as Crow easily evaded the enemy without injury, but his attacks weren't making a dent in the swarm. His every swing slew dozens, but the majority of Spider Grimm flowed around his attacks. The enemies even increased as reinforcements gathered from the darker corners of the cavern, with many crawling from the sockets of the many skulls littering the ground. Naruto was reminded of Gaara and his sand, but there was no main body to target here. He couldn't offer much range support either, his kunai and bolts were going to do even less than the scythe. It was clear that both warriors were preferred close combat, though as Naruto could see Crow did occasionally shoot dust rounds from his scythe. That looked epic to Naruto, but while it did more than the blades it didn't appear to be enough. So Naruto pinned his back to the wall and used his silver aura shield to cover his right side as the spiders swarmed and Naruto swiped his left hand like a beast's claw. When his hand made contact with the dark orb it lost its form and molded to the shape of Naruto's hand. It became a shadow swipe that quickly expanded as it consumed the swarm before it. The battle continued as Naruto dashed along the wall and taking shadow swipes whenever the swarm closed in. He dashed to a new wall when the creatures crawled down from above, but as he ran the swarm dashed against him like a wave against the rocks. He had a second to expand his shield into a small dome before it slammed him to the floor with only his shield between him and millions of fangs. Naruto was calm though, there was even a grin on his face as he was pressed harder to the floor. Naruto felt the same pressure from the shield that he noticed when he clenched his fist around the orb the night before, but this time he let the force loose. The golden glow that flowed through his shield expanded to replace the silver for an instant before a massive concussive force was released, it blasted the swarm back. The area turned into a black fog from the destroyed Grimm closest to the blast. Naruto got his back to another wall as he glanced over at Crow, the older man was doing even better than before. He'd apparently grown used to the spiders, he would dash to the far side of the cave too fast for the Grimm to keep up and lay into them with shots from his gunblade, and when they closed in, he unleashed a whirlwind of blade strikes before he repeated the tactic. He even took the time to nod with a grin at Naruto. There was just one problem and both of them knew it. The flow of more Grimm joining the battle had slowed by far, but it did not yet stop. The duo would eventually win as long as nobody made a mistake, and Naruto knew it would go quicker if he called Kurama down to help with his fire, but he wanted his friend to stay up top in case the Grimm decided to retreat. The idea of this many Grimm, no matter their size, going to the village was haunting. They needed to exterminate all of them here where the confined space trapped the Grimm just as much as them. Naruto had been thinking it over and he had a plan, it was dangerous, foolhardy, and would endanger their lives. So Naruto knew it would be perfect. Naruto let the dark orb gather itself back together as he put distance between him and the nearest spiders. He made his way over to the nearest well. "Hey Crow," Naruto yelled to get his attention. When he was sure Crow was looking he expanded the dark orb, letting it form a crater in the wall large enough for him to fit inside. Naruto could see the thoughts go through Crow's mind before he saw the man look around and then quickly shake his head no. Naruto grinned and nodded his head back, yes. Then before the older man had a chance to reply Naruto dashed back to the first wall he started from, carving a path through the spiders with the darkness radiating from his hand. Naruto knew Crow would handle his part. When he reached the wall Naruto faced it and placed his shield in front of him, making sure to curve the edges around him. Then Naruto let the dark orb expand once again. It grew to 3 times his size, the largest he could currently make it, and consumed that much of the only wall separating the cavern from the raging river on the other side. With a deafening roar the rest of the wall cracked and a tidal wave of stone and water slammed into him like a moving mountain. If it wasn't for his shield he might have been crushed. Naruto let the force carry him for a second before once again releasing the building power within his shield. The resulting blast lifted him from the water where he was caught by Crow hanging from a rope he had already tied to the one that had been cut. They both started climbing as fast as they could, as they did the water raging beneath them started to turn black with disintegrating Grimm. Kurama was guarding the entrance and well aware of Naruto's plans, so he was not surprised when both men dashed from the hole like bats out of hell. He then watched as Naruto dashed back to the hole and sealed it with his light orb. Less than a minute passed before the spiders that managed to escape the water slammed into it and less than a second after that a geyser slammed into them. Naruto again released force from his semblance to meet the water, destroying the surviving Grimm. Hey Naruto, do you see this? Crow pointed at himself as he shook his head. No, this means I do not agree with your psycho death plan. Come on Crow, lighten up, did you want to spend the next week hopefully hunting all those down? Naruto asked. Fuck no, but next time you decided to execute an insane plan, maybe discuss it with me a little first, Crow said as he laid on the ground. Naruto and Kurama joined him on the floor before Naruto replied with a smile stretched across his face. That won't work Crow, I can't run every plan I ever have by you first. Chapter 7, a drink, a farewell, and a bit of trouble. Detri. One a few words as always. Thanks again. Naruto and Kurama spent the rest of the afternoon searching the surrounding area with Crow to be sure that no Grim had survived. They found nothing as they had hoped and decided to set up camp in a clearing nearby. They'd head back to town in the morning where Naruto would continue on to heaven and Crow planned to stock up on the essentials, namely liquor and meetings the fine ladies that served it. They sat around the fire and ate fish Naruto had caught from the river. I'm impressed Naruto, I never saw anybody who could catch fish through meditation, Crow said as he watched Naruto scarf down another fire-roasted fish. He thought back to the strange skill Naruto had shown earlier that day. It had come as a surprise, they had just declared the search for Grim finished when Crow saw Naruto share a long look with his fox, Kurama. He had watched the pair whenever he could so he didn't miss the shocked realization and then the excited look crossed Naruto's face. The next moment Naruto declares that he's going fishing. Crow followed him to a calmer portion of the river and watched with interest as Naruto sank half his body into the river as he took a seat. Then before Crow could ask what he was doing something happened, Naruto went still. It was so easy to describe but difficult to explain. It wasn't the stillness of a person, it was the stillness of a rock. Crow was one of the best scouts around and that meant he was observant, he could usually notice the small twitches and differences in breathing a person went through and even determine what they might do from these changes. He had thought Naruto was easy to read, he showed emotions easily and was full of the energy Crow expected from a teen trained in combat. That had all changed, Crow couldn't even determine if he was still breathing. Naruto then activated his semblance, a small orb of light appeared. The orb split into smaller pieces and soon a dozen little lights began to sway in the water between Naruto's hands, imitating a school of minnows. As Crow watched larger fish soon started to gather, then they started to eat the lights. After a moment Naruto stood, as he did strings of light came from the mouths of the fish and attached to his fingers. Naruto walked out of the water with several fish for dinner. Crow thought of what he had learned from his observation, the first was something he had noticed in the cavern. Naruto had two aspects to his semblance, an orb of light he could solidify and manipulate, and an orb of darkness that could destroy matter. It was interesting that Naruto was using his power in different ways, too many huntsmen focused on the direct combat or most obvious effect of their semblance. It limited their options and growth in the long run. The second thing he had noticed was his initial judgment of Naruto was false. The teen had more to him beneath the surface, you don't have the level of physical and mental control he had shown in the river at that age. In fact Crow had never seen such a technique before. Naruto wasn't the optimistic airhead he could appear to be, at least not entirely, but from what he believed Naruto had been through that made more sense. The last was a suspicion he'd had for a while that he planned to confirm now. So Naruto, I have to admit the way you use your semblance is creative, Crow started. Naruto finished his latest bite before he answered. Yeah, I'm pretty awesome, Naruto said with a grin, he rarely had positive reinforcement growing up, so he was always weak to compliments. Sure, but I bet it helps that two heads are better than one, Crow said. He saw both of them freeze, that alone practically confirmed it. What do you mean? Naruto asked nervously. Crow could almost see the thoughts flash behind Naruto's eyes, including a moment where Crow felt real hostility as he guessed Naruto considered more extreme action. Then it was all gone and he just had a confused smile on his face. Relax Naruto, I'm not after your little friend and that goes for you as well Kurama. You're both just too obvious. Naruto, you have a habit of glancing at Kurama in the middle of a conversation, even when he doesn't make a sound, and that's Kurama's problem, you don't act like even the most intelligent animal I've seen. Even a well-trained companion will occasionally make a noise to communicate or physically point out danger, you never make a sound. Crow paused here, he could see Naruto looking away from Kurama by pointedly staring at Crow, while the small fox had gotten up and was sniffing around the campsite. A little late guys, Crow said as he watched them. Look, I'm not going to speak a word of this to anyone, you have my word, but I am pretty curious if you want to explain, Crow continued. Kurama? Naruto asked mentally. No point in hiding it now, he seems pretty sure, we just aren't used to me being out of the seal yet. There was nothing for me to smell, and I always sense chakra, so I never bothered much with sense in the past. Same as before, tell him some but not everything, it's not like I still don't trust him, but we know he has loyalties to at least one group, Kurama said as he stopped bothering to pretend to be a simple pet and sat next to Naruto to look at Crow. Naruto looked at Crow for a long moment before he began. "Look Crow, do you want to have drink?" Naruto asked, reaching into his pack and bringing out a bottle of sake. Crow was mildly surprised for a moment. That wasn't where he thought this would start. Was he about to be silenced through poison? Then again, who was he to turn down free drinks? Well, who'd have guessed? I know the drinking age is inconsistent outside the kingdoms, but I didn't peg you for the casual drinker, Crow said as he reached into his own pack to produce 2 cups, then with a glance at Kurama third. Naruto looked at the bottle between his hands as he began to speak. "I'm really not, look Crow, we don't know each other very well, but we've traveled together, we've fought together, and now you want me to trust your word." Naruto looked up and locked eyes with the first person he had truly met in this world before continuing. "I don't trust strangers, Crow, especially ones who clearly have a lot of secrets of their own, but I can place some trust in a friend," Naruto said before he raised a bottle in his hand up and let massive smile fill his face. "Drinks are exchanged between brothers, you haven't earned that much from us yet, but we share among friends. Crow, the hold for this is Fire Toad's sake, the only bottle in this world. You want us to talk? Then let's talk as we reach the bottom," Naruto said. Crow felt a smirk rise up, he knew there was a reason he liked this punk. When the drinks were poured, Naruto raised his glass and began. "Kurama over there is as smart, arrogant and stubborn as any human I've ever met and many times as loyal a friend," Naruto said. They drank as they continued. Naruto knew drinking while trying to control what he said wasn't the best idea, but most of his history with Kurama was a bitter one, and telling even an edited version was something that had never come easy. What had was Naruto's ability to talk very loudly about his dreams while revealing nothing personal about himself, so talking to a relative stranger was a bit therapeutic. When he was finished, Crow took a minute to think it over before he summarized what Naruto had told him. "So," Crow began as he again filled his glass with what he certainly hoped wasn't the only bottle of what was certainly one of the best liquors on Remnant, and he'd know, Kurama was always intelligent and always a fox with aura and even a semblance. That is incredible, but anything with a soul has that potential. He was eventually captured by your village and locked up, then the day you were born some enemy of your dad took control of him and killed your parents, but your dad somehow bound your souls together before he died, so Kurama had to protect you?" Crow asked. "Basically, Naruto said. "I'm surprised I hadn't heard of this event," Crow said. "The village leader kept it all a secret, the entire village kept away from outsiders since it was founded after the war." Naruto meant a different war, but saw no reason to clarify. Crow considered it certainly wasn't impossible. Settlements rose and fell too often to keep track of out here, and distrust of the kingdoms wasn't uncommon either. Besides, if any of it was true, it was a decent explanation on how this was possible. It seemed like most of it was, but Crow knew he wouldn't get the full details from Naruto for now. "So your dad kind of left you holding the bag filled with a pissed off Kurama, huh?" Crow asked as he decided to drop the issue for now. Besides, this place was apparently gone, and he had enough problems that made looking into it simply impossible for years to come. "Yeah, it turned out for the best, but no one seems able to screw up your childhood quite like your family," Naruto said as he finished his own drink. "Trust me, I know," Crow said with a grimace. "Okay Naruto, since we're drinking buddies, let me give you some advice. I think you have told me most of the truth, I know crazier tales that have proven true. Trust me when I say continue to keep it to yourself, get better at hiding it too. There are plenty that would be interested in how to do what your dad apparently did. I know Atlas has been studying aura for a while, and they're not known for caring about human or Frontis rights," Crow cautioned. "Good to know, and that will be the plan from here," Naruto said. "Get some sleep, then I'll take first watch. I'm not confident Kurama will notice anyone approaching at this point," Crow said with a look at the small fox that had passed out curled around his cup. It was the next day at the village entrance. Naruto and Kurama were saying their goodbyes to Crow. "See you both around, maybe next time I'll buy the drinks and tell you some secrets of my own," Crow said, reaching his right hand out to shake Naruto's own. "Sounds good to me, if we're friends now you can count on Naruto Uzumaki to guard your back." Naruto paused when Kurama flicked his tail. "Kurama says he expects a decent meal then too," Naruto finished while returning the gesture. Crow had himself paused and was staring at the bandages. "Aha, what, don't tell me the great detective Crow hadn't noticed," Naruto said as he pulled back part of the bandages to reveal his metallic limb. "Well, I just figured you were trying to look cool, white shirt, white bandages, you teens and your fashion, but now I find out you have more stories to tell than I thought," Crow said with a shrug. "Trying to look cool? Dude, you wear a cape," Naruto said indignantly. "Yeah, and have you ever seen someone pull it off like me? Capes go to the awesome, so I deserve a cape," Crow said, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Yeah, whatever, I'll tell you another time, see you later Crow," Naruto said as he was about to walk away. "Hold up, here, take this," Crow said, handing several cards to Naruto. "Lean, I know I'm broke Crow, but I don't need handouts." "You've done enough with the hotel," Naruto said. I'm not giving it to you then, consider it a loan. It should be enough for some supplies and cheap fare on a ship from Sanus to Anima. You can pay me back when you become a huntsman. Crow again offered Naruto the lien. Naruto hesitated a moment more before he accepted. "Bye old man," Naruto said as he walked out of town. Later, Punk Crow said as he went to the nearest bar. 2 days later had Naruto and Kurama arguing mentally. "Why didn't you grab supplies before we left? We don't even have a map with current towns," Kurama said, annoyed at plain fish to eat and only Naruto's coat to sleep on. "What was I supposed to do? We were having an emotional farewell at the village exit. Neither of us thought of it till it was dark and I figured we'd run into a town following the roads by now, not a ruin." Naruto replied in frustration. Did Kurama even realize how long he had gone without ramen? The only town they had come across was a wreck long since abandoned where that part of the so-called road ended. Now they were again lost and following a river. As if life wanted to further mess with him, the forest was full of fog that made finding the road impossible. "Remember to move quietly. The last thing I want to do is run into Grim this early and watch where you walk. There is a lot of limestone around here, so there might be pools formed by the river. I don't want to end up soaked," Kurama said. "Yes sure your highness," Naruto said. A wicked grin flashed across his features that was hidden from Kurama who was atop his head. He had already spotted such a pool just ahead of them. Naruto dropped his pack and used both hands to pin Kurama to his head before dashing forward for a cannonball. Splash. Naruto rose up laughing so much he almost choked on water, with a soaked Kurama in his hands looking murderous. Then something else raised its head from the water on the other side of the pool. Naruto stopped laughing, he stopped breathing. The strength left his legs at the sight of the rage burning in the amber eyes directed at him. Naruto knew it made no sense, but he blamed Jiraiya for this. Chapter 8. Cats and Tails. Author notes. I noticed I didn't get all of Kurama dialogue and bold for the last chapter. 1 will fix that soon. Responses. The meandering ghosty. You probably won't see this, but that is completely understandable. I think everyone has that one thing that would ruin a story for them, and I appreciate your politeness. I'll just say it was needed for this story, but I can see your point. The ETA 117. Thank you for your comment and giving me another chance. I hope I continue to improve, but grammar is still a pain, and you nailed it on the Jiraiya comment. Barak. Thanks for taking the time to comment and I hope to keep it interesting as well. Zenchita Zen no Kami. Thank you for commenting on each chapter, so I'm going to respond to most of them here. I'm glad the pain of getting replaced came through. I didn't spend a lot of words on it then, but it comes back way later. The chakra thing, as you guessed, was needed to balance it out and seal his fate. I needed this because in most stories Naruto seems to accept his fate too easily and I always imagined him being desperate to get back. Finally, on his semblance there is a lot of yin-yang symbolism in Naruto the series and is part of his character and some in rwby and I've always loved that. Oh, and while you will see it's not Cinder in this chapter, 1 have a different meeting planned for her. Espiroi. Thanks, here's hoping they stay decent. Bladetri. The honored Bladetri continues his patronage of this story. My thanks to you. Chapter 8. Cats and Tails. Phasing into amber orbs with hellfire depths. Naruto did not was Naruto Uzumaki. He had been through countless life or death battles. He had even seen situations like this. He drew upon his finely tuned reflexes honed by his years of training with Jiraiya. Naruto made his move and water was sent flying away from his position as Naruto went to his knees and brought his hands together. The water settling around his shoulders, he bowed his head, making sure it was obvious he was staring straight down into the water inches away. His hands pressed together just above his head. Naruto opened his mouth and shouted. "And I'm sorry, so very sorry, it was an accident. I swear I didn't know you were here and I definitely didn't see anything honest," Naruto said. He could feel a cold sweat on his forehead as he cursed himself for almost saying thank you. He had almost channeled a little too much of his training with Jiraiya. Naruto had never seen things end well for Jiraiya after the old sage had been gutsy enough to thank the women he was peeping on. No, that usually ended with Naruto grabbing some thread for stitches. You. Sorry, Naruto interrupted. He could feel the rage in the voice, but he knew he had a chance now. Naruto had dealt with a lot of women and a lot of perverts. The fact that he wasn't hit yet showed she was the reasonable type. Me and Kurama, that's my fox, we're lost. It's been days you see and we really needed a bath, so when I saw a spring I just jumped in. I had no idea someone was in there until it was too late. Naruto stopped for a moment as he heard movement in the water. He could sense the speed at which the other presence moved and how little it affected the water. What made him pause was the fact that for a split second, it felt as if there were 2 people. Then the second one that remained in the water was gone. The clone? Naruto thought. I definitely would never do this on purpose, I was just so distracted keeping a lookout for Grim. Naruto continued talking as much as he could, now feeling hopeful this encounter would end without injury. He was pleading his case as fast as he could on purpose. Naruto had taken this pose and started to explain the situation because he wanted to distract the other person from their anger. He didn't want to give them a chance to shout and strike in a blind rage, so he planned to overload them with information in a desperate attempt to give his apology and have them calm down enough to realize that they were still naked. Naruto thought back to Jiraiya again. The giant perv would grin when he was caught, causing women to fly into a blind rage and pummel the old man while still wearing a towel or maybe even less. Naruto knew his master had done it on purpose. The sage had a body as tough as stone even without sage mode. While he was getting beat, the sage of perverts would take the chance to catch sight of more inspiration. Naruto was going for the opposite effect. If he could get her to pause and put her clothes on, that might be enough time for her shock and rage to cool down and maybe accept his apology. He was confident he could escape from anyone even in his current state, but he remained in place. He had disturbed a woman bathing, so she deserved an apology. A moment later, Naruto stopped talking when he heard the sound of possible salvation. "You. Stay still and don't move an inch, if you do I swear I'll cut it off," the stranger said. Jackpot, Naruto heaved a sigh of relief as he chose to not think about what it might refer to. That's when a demon appeared. "Wow, Naruto, if only you could see her, by your human standards, I'd say she is perfect." "Go ahead, she's not actually looking, she has her back turned," Kurama said as he sat on the edge of the spring, his small frame looking soaked and with a cruel glint in his eyes. "Silence, demon, you will not lead me astray," Naruto thought as he squeezed his eyes closed. The fox had to be lying. He could practically feel her eyes glaring at him. "Not that I would look anyway," Naruto told himself. Soon he could hear the sound of fabric close by. My, she must be one of those faunas we've seen. First one I had a close look at. Do you think all faunas have such toned bodies? Judging by those ears, she must be a feline type. Well, also from that lithe form, such supple movement. I bet if that painter you know was here, he'd probably call it a work of art. I'm not even human, but anyone could appreciate such natural beauty. Go on, Naruto, a quick look while she has her eyes closed couldn't hurt, right?" Kurama said with a wicked grin on his little face. "I won't be fooled, you bastard," Naruto said as his will was pushed to its limits. "Fine, don't look, it's your loss. I guess it doesn't matter now she's putting her clothes on. Oh wow, I'm surprised. Wouldn't those be considered bold, Naruto? It looks amazing on her though." "Oh my, a matching set, but that part looks a bit tight to me, what do you think?" Kurama asked as he continued to get his revenge. "I don't see it, so stop asking, you bastard," Naruto said as he resisted asking exactly what parts Kurama was talking about. Lake Belladonna was pissed. This had already been the worst week of her life and it seemed determined to continue in a similar fashion. It had started with leaving the White Fang and her psycho ex-boyfriend. That was a hard decision that she had struggled with for a while now. It hadn't been easy or simple to face the hard truth that Adam had gone off the deep end. She had loved him once, but he had changed. Gone was her fellow idealist fighting for their people. Now all she could see was a possessive fanatic that would end anything that went against him. She had to leave him and the White Fang. If she had stayed, Blake was honestly afraid of what Adam might do to keep her in line by his side. Blake knew she would get no help from her comrades. Sadly, they still saw Adam as a leader full of conviction and pride. The White Fang members couldn't see that it was an arrogance fueled by growing insanity. They would blindly follow him just as she had. She wondered if she was just in denial from the start. Maybe Adam had never been the man she thought he was. Unfortunately, being crazy didn't change the fact that Adam was still one of the strongest fighters she knew, and with a division of the White Fang following his orders, Blake knew she needed to become stronger in a place that would offer training and allow her to continue to follow her ideals. Beacon had seemed the obvious choice. So here she was traveling to the school. Her journey was off to a rough start. She was 2 days into her journey and was now low on food. However, the nearest town was at least 2 more days away. She had most of her possessions, but Blake had left in the middle of a mission. It wasn't easy to leave her traveling case hidden nearby, and stealing food supplies would have risked tipping off Adam to her plans. She had arranged for more of her possessions to be shipped to Vale, having been forced to place her hopes on the unreliable shipping service of the kingdoms. So Blake Belladonna had started her day depressed, hungry, and after 2 days of trying to get as far as she could from Adam, she was feeling like she could use a bath. A shower would be better but unlikely in a forest. When she spotted a clear spring just a bit off the trail, she figured her luck was finally taking a turn for the better, so she had relaxed in the cool water and tried to forget about her troubles. Then some blonde idiot and his fox had cannonballed right into her bath just as she was lowering her head into the pool. She raised her head above the water, trying to keep anything below the neck in the spring and as hidden from view as possible in the now annoyingly clear water. She spotted the intruder immediately because the bastard was laughing without a care in the world. It just made her anger grow. Blake had every intention of ending a life at that very moment with her bare hands if necessary, but before she could even begin, the little motormouth started pleading and saying how it was an accident and he was sorry. Blake could hardly get a word in while he was apologizing, and after a moment she calmed down enough, realized why he was keeping his head down. She was naked. It was like all her frustration was gone, deflated like a balloon. She was still angry, but beating up a stranger for a stupid mistake while naked was clearly crazy. You. Stay still and don't move an inch, if you do I swear I'll cut it off, Blake said. She kept her eyes on him as she used a clone to displace her position and launch herself to the shore. The first thing she grabbed was her weapon. This was far from the main road, and he could be a bandit. Blake honestly wished he was one so she could end this as violently as possible. As Blake was putting her clothes on, she continued to observe her uninvited guest. He was around her age and had blonde hair. He had his head down now, but she was pretty sure she saw blue eyes and some markings on his cheeks. Honest tended to notice each other quickly, so Blake had noticed that there resembled whiskers, but seemed to only be tattoos or a birthmark. Blake knew that didn't mean he wasn't a faunus, but she got the feeling he wasn't. It was just a feeling, but she trusted her own instincts. So he most likely wasn't a faunus, which meant he wasn't from the White Fang. That helped calm her down enough to continue her observation. She noticed that he wasn't carrying much, just a small pouch. He was wearing a large and loose white shirt with an orange collar. The rest was beneath the water, but she had seen more orange and black before he went to his knees. Blake soon finished while making sure to never let her eyes leave him for more than a second. Okay, who the heck are you, besides a pervert, Blake said as she glared him. Blake was still tempted to smack him with the blunt side of her blade, but she had slightly calmed down from her indignation and noticed that the idiot had seemed rather shocked to see her head rise above the water. He had also looked away quickly enough that she was tempted to believe him if his full explanation was good enough to quell her rage. She hadn't heard much of his apology as she had been too angry to pay attention to the details. Hey, I'm not a pervert, the name's Naruto Uzumaki. The future I guess you can just call me the currently most awesome. Naruto said before he started to repeat his earlier explanation. When he finished, Blake had made her decision. Listen up, Mr. Awesome. Blake paused to make sure her sarcasm was clear. Judging by the grin on Naruto's face, she decided it wasn't. I'm going to believe this was an accident by an idiot, that idiot being you, and try to forget this whole thing ever happened, Blake said as she turned away. Naruto watched as the young woman walked away after grabbing a small pack she strapped to her back. He was a bit stunned at actually being forgiven. He likely would have stayed that way had Kurama not spoken up. Hey, Mr. Awesome Idiot, we're still lost, and the only person we've seen is walking away, Kurama said, irritated that Naruto had gotten off with only a small fright and a short lecture. Naruto snapped out of his daze, began dashing forward to catch up. Hey wait lady, Naruto soon began to walk alongside her. So where are we going? Naruto asked. Blake stopped and gave the blonde a long look. No, Blake stated flatly. No, Naruto asked confused. No, you are not following me, Blake said with a stern look before walking again. Naruto immediately followed her. Come on lady, I'm lost, would you really leave us here, Naruto said. Yes, now go away and quit calling me lady, Blake said. You haven't told me your name yet lady, so what am I supposed to call you, Naruto asked while ignoring the first part. There's no need to tell you my name, you're not going to need it because you're going to stop following me and I'll never have to see you again, Blake said with a glare at Naruto. Blake then noticed that his fox had at some point made its way to the top of Naruto's head. It was still soaked but seemed content to let the water drip onto Naruto. Naruto didn't seem to care beyond occasionally sending an irritated look upwards. Naruto noticed her gaze and gave her a helpless shrug. He's still pretty pissed about the water. His name is Kurama in case you didn't hear earlier. Say hello, Kurama, Naruto said with a look upwards. Kurama raised his tail and for a moment Blake thought he was going to wave hello, but then the tail smacked wetly against Naruto's face. Blake tried to stifle her laughter when she saw the growing grin on Naruto's face. Don't let the adorable appearance fool you, he's a moody jerk sometimes, Naruto said with a smile. The tiny fox yipped and batted at Naruto's head. Wow, he's pretty smart for a kid, Blake said. Yeah, he's well trained, but actually Kurama is pretty old. He's a breed from the forest near my old home, they tend to be small. Oh hey, he is mostly dried off now, do you want to hold him? Naruto asked, trying to direct the conversation. Oh I don't know, Blake said. She knew foxes weren't dogs, but the resemblance was a little too close. Naruto took Kurama down and held the fox out to Blake, while mentally telling Kurama to act cute. Blake looked down at the little fox and watched as it tilted its head and glanced up at her before letting a small yip out at her. That was all it took. Blake took the slightly damp Kurama into her arms with a smile and unaware of the silent argument taking place. Do it. No. Come on Kurama, just do it. It is an insult to my pride. Do it Kurama, your pride can't get us out of this forest. You owe me for this injustice, Naruto. Blake smiled with joy as the little fox in her arms quickly licked her cheek before hiding its head by curling up with its tail. Oh, he likes you, Naruto said with a smile. Indeed, she does not taste half bad. I will keep that in mind should I desire to devour her in the future, Kurama said. Naruto felt his smile grow a bit stiff as he chose to ignore what Kurama said. So where are we going first? Naruto asked. Blake froze and took notice of her situation. Somehow they were now walking together, she was holding his pet and making small talk. Take him back and go away, there is no we, if you head straight south you'll reach a main road eventually, Blake said as she handed Kurama back to Naruto and started going in another direction. Damn it, Kurama, I can't believe that didn't work. Maybe you're just not cute enough, I guess we could follow from a distance, but we don't know what she can do. She is definitely a fighter, I saw that sword she had and her aura was active from the start. If she can control it that well, it was probably her semblance I noticed earlier. Did you see what it was? Naruto asked Kurama. Yeah, I did, it was a bit different from yours, but it was definitely a clone ability. Oh, and if you call me cute or not cute enough, I will tear your throat out while you sleep, Kurama said. That might make tracking her hard if we don't know what they can do. South is the way we came, so it would be better if we could travel together until a town with a decent map. What should we do? Naruto asked, once again ignoring the fox's bloodthirsty threats. She is traveling pretty far from the main road, she might be avoiding notice. She also doesn't seem to have many supplies. How about we offer her some fish in exchange for getting us closer to a port or a larger town? Kurama. Naruto gazed at the fox in his arms for a moment. Because she has cat ears. Really, Kurama? Naruto asked, exasperated. No, you idiot, it's because she probably needs food that won't take too long to catch, and that's the one thing you currently seem good for, Kurama said indignantly. Oh yeah, good idea, Kurama, Naruto said. Naruto ran to catch up with the woman whose name he had yet to learn. Hey, wait up, lady, Naruto said as he again began to walk alongside Blake. Blake shot him an annoyed glare. I told you not to follow me, I decided to let what happened go, but I don't want to travel with some random guy and his fox, Blake said, looking more annoyed. I get that, but I have to go north and I don't want to risk getting lost again. If you can just lead us to a town we'd be able to find our way. I don't have much to offer, but you don't seem to carry much more than me, so I can trade some fish for your trouble, what do you say? Naruto had a hopeful smile as he gave his offer. Blake stopped and felt her ears twitch at the word. Fish. Blake looked over Naruto and noted only a small pack. What fish? Blake asked. I can catch. No, I don't have that kind of time, I'm in a hurry, Blake interrupted before walking again. Wait, it'll only take a minute 10 tops, Naruto said. How? I don't see any equipment on you, and fishing enough for both of us would take too long, Blake asked skeptically. By semblance, I can fish with it, honest. Just give me a chance and a river and you'll be eating fish all the way, Naruto said confidently, well he could hardly believe this was working so well. Okay, one chance, Blake said. She really was quite hungry. An hour later and not only did Naruto provide the fish, but they were already sitting down for an early lunch. Blake stared at Naruto after she had finished eating while she thought about the way he had used his semblance, where he might be going, and if she could trust him enough to travel with them to a town. Naruto stared at Blake as he thought over how a woman so slim could consume so many fish. Did you see the Kurama? I thought I caught enough to last a day, not a single meal for her, Naruto said mentally as he wondered if him eating ramen looked the same way. See it? I was making sure not to get too close in case she ate me by accident, in case you're wondering. Yes, you are just as bad with ramen. Kurama said. Their mental discussion stopped as Blake seemed to come to a decision as she stood. Okay, we can travel together until a town, but no further, Blake said. Hey, no problem, lady, thanks, Naruto said, grinning. Stop with the lady, my name is Blake Belladonna. Well, nice to meet you, Blake Belladonna, Naruto said as he held out his hand to shake on the agreement. Blake hesitated for a moment before responding with her own hand. Same here, I guess it's nice to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki. After traveling for less than an hour or so, Blake came to a stunning realization. Naruto Uzumaki was a talker. He had been asking her questions non-stop. About the area where she was going, she had not answered at the time, how he had gotten lost, what kind of grim he had fought, and if she had fought any of the same kind. Hey, how about we stop talking for a while, okay? Blake said, hoping for a moment of peace to collect her thoughts. Oh sure, Blake, sorry, I guess I'm asking too many questions, I'll stop, but feel free to ask me something too, Naruto said. He was a bit embarrassed, he was used to having more people around the last couple of years, and Kurama was never one for conversation. Blake let the quiet last for a while, but she did have a few questions of her own. Was that a kunai you used to cut the fish? Blake asked. What? You recognized it, Naruto said as he flicked his wrist, making a kunai slide into his hand. Just from books, I thought that was a ninja weapon. Blake asked. Yeah, it totally is because I'm a ninja, Naruto bragged with pride. Blake looked at the loud teen with bright clothes, skepticism would be putting her thoughts lightly. Ninja? You don't seem like any ninja I've ever heard of, Blake said. Oh yeah, and where did you learn about ninja? Naruto said indignantly, how could she tell a ninja what a ninja should be? Blake had to fight a rising blush as she thought about the last book with ninja she had read. Ninja of Love was not something she wanted to bring up. Okay, I'll admit just from books, but I doubt anyone's first guess would be that you're a ninja, Blake said. Naruto grinned, that's what makes me the perfect ninja. I'll show you some techniques when we stop for camp if you'll show me your weapon, Naruto offered. That sounds nice actually, I don't mind giving you the chance to prove it, just don't expect me to show everything I can do. I still barely know you, Blake said as she wondered what Naruto could do that would match the books she had read. Hey, no worries Blake, that's fine, just so you know though you are now the traveling companion and friend of the great Naruto Uzumaki, the ninja legend. I never break a promise and I never betray a friend, Naruto said with a thumbs up. Since when did we become friends? Blake asked. Naruto laughed, the minute you accepted my apology, he said. I don't remember agreeing to these conditions, shouldn't I get a say? Blake asked, a small smile on her face. Of course you get a say, you can say we're friends or you can say we're best friends. It's entirely up to you, Naruto stated what he was sure was obvious. Blake started laughing, she couldn't help it, after all the stress of the last few days and being around the White Fang for so long, it was nice to talk to someone who could be so cheerful. Okay, the second question I want to ask is if you are going to a huntsman academy, you're the right age and no one would be traveling alone outside the kingdoms without being confident in their skills. Whether you can back that up remains to be seen, Blake said. Naruto had a surprised look for a moment before responding. You're pretty sharp, Blake, yeah you're right, I am going to the academy in Mistral. I met a huntsman a little while back and he convinced me it would be a decent path. I think he was just that impressed by how epic I was, Naruto said before glancing at her questioningly. I know I said it was your turn, but can I ask if you're the same? Naruto asked. Blake gave him a smirk, yeah, I'm heading to Pekin. There's no point in hiding that, you will just find out at the Vital Festival assuming you can even get into the academy. That's not fair, I'm the best, so if I don't get in it's because the place wasn't awesome enough to see how epic it would be to have a ninja huntsman, Naruto said. Sure, ninja boy, because every ninja tells people they're a ninja, Blake pointed out. Naruto pouted while grumbling about how if they were the best ninja, then it didn't matter who knew. Anyway Blake, what book had ninjas in it that made you an expert anyway? Naruto asked. Blake almost faltered while walking, but steeled her nerves, there was no way he would guess. He did not strike Blake as much of a reader. Oh, just a novel, why do you read a lot? I can make a recommendation, Blake said, partially to avoid the question and partially because she liked to make such suggestions. Maybe later, but I'm not much of a reader, Blake rolled her eyes, big surprise, but I do have a favorite novel, my godfather wrote it. Naruto reminisced. Blake looked interested, really? Maybe I've read some of his books. Naruto laughed, I doubt it, besides the first one most were adult romance novels, which was what he called them, I just called it porn. My old teacher used to actually read them in public. You'd never read that stuff, right, Blake? Blake looked straight ahead, trying not to let a blush rise to her face. Definitely not, he sounds like a pervert to me, what about that first book? Maybe I've read that one, Blake said, he must never know, thought Blake. Naruto for once lost his energetic look, I don't think so, Blake, it was never very popular and my godfather's books weren't really for sale outside of my home, he passed not too long ago, so they're probably not going to spread. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, I would have liked to give it a try if you had a copy. Blake did truly feel for the young man, despite only knowing him for less than a day, seeing the hyperactive teen become so depressed was unsettling. Naruto looked even more down after remembering he had left his godfather's book behind, but then his eyes took on their usual gleam. I don't have the book, but I practically memorized it. I have an idea, Blake, how about we tell stories to pass the time? I tell you the tale of the utterly gutsy shinobi, and when I get tired or can't remember a part you can tell me stuff, Naruto said in delight. Naruto wanted a chance to get to know more about this world and the opinion of a faunus who was closer to his age and seemed more knowledgeable than the bandit he had taken down, sounded like a great source of information. Blake looked interested but hesitant. Naruto had guessed this would be her response, he had plenty of old friends that could seem standoffish just because they were the quiet type or a bit sarcastic. Shino, Hinata, and even Sasuke, but he was standoffish because he could be an antisocial ass. That was all fine, he had made lasting friendships with them, and Blake seemed way more stable than Sasuke. Come on Blake, you said we had 2 days until the next town, we have to do something to pass the time. It's a great story, honest, it has ninja and epic battles over the fate of the world, and it even has romance, Naruto said, waving his arms to emphasize how great it was. Blake rolled her eyes in exasperation, fine Naruto, go ahead then, Blake said. Naruto laughed, yes, okay, first off you should know I'm named after the main character. Okay, the prologue is called My Name Is. The sun was getting low in the sky as Blake listened to Naruto finish chapter 1. The mission. He had stopped a few times to rest his voice, and during that time Blake would tell some stories of her own. They were the usual myths or legends she had heard growing up mixed in with the short stories she could remember reading. It didn't seem to matter to Naruto what she told him, but she had noticed he enjoyed tales of grand heroics more. Blake looked around their current location while taking out a map. Okay, let's make camp, we are close to a main road. You could probably see it if you climbed a tree, and there should be a river less than a quarter mile away. I don't want to be too close to a water source and have to deal with animals getting a drink at night. Let's set up camp and then go get fish. You can catch as many as earlier, right? Blake asked, but it did not seem like she was doubtful, instead she sounded hopeful. Naruto smiled as Kurama jumped from his head to the floor to scout the area, making sure to sniff noticeably. That sounds fine, wait up Blake, Kurama smells grim, Naruto said as he watched Kurama stare at a small hill in the direction of the river. Blake looked interested as she dropped her packs and grabbed her blade. That's convenient, good job little guy. Naruto, let's scout the situation first, Blake said, not noticing the tiny glare from the tiny fox. She and Naruto made their way to the top of the hill in silence where they crouched down to stay out of sight. From the top they could see the other side led to a small ravine where a king Tajitu slithered in search of prey. It was a massive specimen, half again as large as any Blake had seen personally. Its most noticeable difference was the webbed crest upon its twin heads. It almost resembled a spiked fin people would see more often on the aquatic rim. The extra appendage would twitch every so often, along with its forked tongue, revealing the row of smaller spines connecting the crest's head to head. Blake glanced back at Naruto. The town is only a day away, and the rivers around here all connect to a lake nearby. This will lead right to it. I'm not going to ask you to help, but I can't just let it go. The village isn't a large one, it might not be destroyed by a single Grim, but a king taiju this large will definitely cost lives. It hasn't sensed us, so I'll strike now. You can follow the path or the riverbed to the next town. I will meet up with you there. Blake said, a bit hesitant. She couldn't ask someone she met this morning to fight a Grim that might attack a village they had nothing to do with. Naruto smiled. It was a big and happy smile as he felt admiration for yet another person of this world. Blake wasn't a huntsman on a mission like Crow. She didn't have to step up to help a village of people she likely didn't know and who would never know if she died. Naruto could tell she was no pushover who would die at the hands of a single king taiju, but anything could happen in a fight to the death and few would take the risk when they could avoid it. The fact that she gave him an out was also telling. She could have asked for help, but she would rather take it on alone. Was she confident or was it a trust thing? Either way, Naruto had no intention of letting a good fight for a good cause pass him by. Blake, I told you I'd show you some skills when we stopped for the night. Let me handle this one while you cover me from here, Naruto said. Blake was looking back at the Grim when Naruto spoke. What? No, you don't have. Blake looked at the empty spot where Naruto had been moments ago, but he was now nowhere in sight. Blake whipped her head back around to look at the king taiju. The Grim moved in a twisting path with the black head leading. She couldn't spot Naruto as the minutes slowly went by and the Grim's midsection slid just beneath her position. Then just as she was about to get up to look for him, the leading head jerked back and began to writhe in pain, one of Naruto's kunai stick out of each of its eyes. Blake looked around from her vantage point, but she still could not spot Naruto. She watched as the white head rushed to its counterpart's aid as the blinded snake head slammed into its surroundings in rage. The serpents wildly flicked their tongues in search of their attacker, but neither they nor Blake could find any sign. She was just beginning to get worried he had been hurt from the Grim flailing in rage when the berserk black head slammed its spikes into the side of the rocky wall. Blake could see the spikes digging into the stone, but to her shock, instead of a few chunks of stone, the entire area it struck shattered to reveal a hidden cave where Naruto was standing with a sword strapped to one of his arms and a silver shield strapped to the other. It happened near instantly, as the Black King Taiju head smashed through the thin sheet of rock its neck was bared to Naruto. The blind beast never saw what attacked it, nor did it see Naruto finish the job by slashing through its neck. The White King Taiju roared in rage before shooting forward, fangs bared to strike, but Naruto merely raised his shield up to the entrance where it expanded to twice its previous size. The Grim slammed into the silver barrier, and Naruto seemed to be pushed back from the force. The Grim reared its ugly head back to strike again, but Naruto did not retaliate. He barely seemed to move from his position, just keeping the shield in place for the next blow. The Grim did not hesitate to deliver as it again assaulted the trapped blonde, its fangs and jaws slamming into his shield in a frenzy. Blake stood and was prepared to assist when she made eye contact with Naruto through the transparent shield. Naruto sent her a grin as he held his free arm out, the blade having disappeared from view and the shield shifted to the front of his bandaged palm. Blake stopped herself from helping, deciding to trust in whatever plot Naruto had cooked up. Naruto let the shield shrink to the point it only covered his body, and the white snake hissed in triumph as it believed Naruto was weakening. It reared back again and shot forward with all the strength it had in an attempt to destroy the human who dared stand against it. Naruto glared at the Grim through his shield, with his normal hand held out as if to strike with his signature attack. The moment before the Grim struck the white taiju saw the shield disappear only to be replaced with darkness. Lake was a bit shocked when she saw Naruto drop his shield, but she was dumbfounded when Naruto jumped up in the confined space to slam a ball of darkness that formed in his hand into the Grim's skull. It went through its head with disturbing ease as it seemed to consume the Grim. The snake's momentum caused the attack to leave a massive gap, starting from just in front of its snout and ending at the base of its skull, where its flesh had disappeared, not even leaving the usual smoke behind. Naruto soon joined Blake back at the top after he had collected his kunai and shuriken. A massive grin was on his face as if he was expecting applause. Blake gave him a long stare. Okay, that was pretty impressive, but how did you make that throw with the kunai when I couldn't see you, and what about that cave? Blake asked. Naruto put his hands together behind his head as they began to walk away. I never went to the bottom after I left ninja style. I used my semblance to dig out a hollow in the wall from the top. I made that shot with a ricochet. I threw 2 kunai just ahead of the snake, then used shuriken to add force and direction, so it looked like they came from the front. That gave me enough time to make it back to the cavern I had made. If it's anything like a normal snake, it should be able to tell my general direction through vibration from hitting the wall from the inside. Once it calmed down from the pain, after that you saw the fight, I faked the trouble with my shield to bring the second head closer. Naruto said all of this naturally, not noticing he sounded similar to his many teachers when they explained a concept to him. Blake looked shocked and stared at Naruto for a long moment. I'm sorry, I thought you were an idiot, Naruto. I never thought you could think that far ahead, Blake said, still a bit in shock. She had only met him today, but he had hardly come off as a tactician nor so skilled. Naruto gave a small pout at yet another person who seemed to have doubted his prowess. Don't worry about it, I know I gave a bad first impression, but you did see my ninja skills, though, right? Naruto grinned, at least he had shown how skilled he could be. I saw the result, though most of the action happened without me seeing it, Blake said. Naruto glanced at her from the corner of his eyes as they walked. That's the point, it's not usually my style to ambush, but I can when I want to. I prefer a frontal assault, but that doesn't mean that will be my attack, Naruto said. Blake shot him a glance in return as she directed them to a calmer portion of the river. Grim or not, it was time for fish. Your assault won't be the attack, can you clarify? Blake asked. Sure, the thing is, if my main attack works great, but the difference between ninja and most warriors is that a warrior might hold back strength just in case an attack will fail, but a ninja will never rely on the strike hitting. The ninja will already be planning for a hidden strike, and depending on how skilled he is, there might be many more moves made before the first hit ever has a chance to land. If you ever fight someone like a ninja, never concentrate fully on the obvious, and if you fight someone stronger, think like a ninja and never let them see past the obvious, Naruto said. As Blake watched Naruto enter the river, she was thinking over his words. Naruto did not seem to be a deep thinker at first glance, but Blake had begun to realize that what appeared obvious about Naruto was far from everything he was. He didn't feel dishonest, in fact Naruto seemed far too happy and even a bit innocent, but like his own word said, the obvious could hide many things. Chapter 9. Strange Dreams and a Vicious Wake-Up. Naruto and Blake had built a fire between 2 particularly massive boulders that faced each other in the clearing, with the hope that the boulders would block some wind during the night. Naruto was sitting in the opposite side of the flames facing Blake, while Kurama was curled up on the top of the boulder behind him as the fish cooked. Noticing the smallest was the first to be done, Naruto passed the fish up to Kurama, which he realized might have been a mistake when he noticed how crushed Blake didn't say a word, but Blake was eyeing the fish most likely to be done next and kept shooting Naruto nervous looks like she expected him to keep taking the fish from her. The message was clear, and when it finished he passed it over, struggling not to smile. The meal continued in a comfortable silence that turned into amazed silence after Naruto and Kurama had finished eating and proceeded to watch Blake consume fish at a scary pace. So you like fish? Naruto asked the obvious after Blake at last finished her meal. Yes, I guess a little more than most people, Blake said with a small embarrassed blush and wiping her mouth with a napkin she had in her pack. Naruto looked nervous as he glanced to the side for a second before turning back to Blake, a determined look in his eyes. Is that because you're on? Naruto let his question trail off awkwardly. He had criticized Kurama this morning over the same thing, but after seeing how she devoured the fish he was honestly curious, and no one had ever accused Naruto of having tact. Blake immediately stopped eating, her ears laying down toward the sides of her head. Is it because I'm a faunus? Blake asked flatly. Naruto looked a bit embarrassed. I'm sorry Blake, I didn't mean for it to sound that way, I've never met any faunus before, so I was curious. Naruto explained while waving his arms excitedly. Blake let out a long sigh and her ears went back to their usual position. It's okay, I've heard a lot worse than someone honestly wanting to know more about us. I don't think it has anything to do with being a faunus, but even if it does you shouldn't assume that. I know it seems fine at first to make the assumption we share traits with our animal likeness, but it can be dangerous for some. Most people would say reptiles are emotionless or rabbits are timid, so what about faunus who have those traits? Do you get what I mean? Blake asked. Blake watched as Naruto glanced up at Kurama, and it seemed he was about to touch the marks on his face when he stopped, his fist clenching into a fist for a second before releasing. Yeah, I think I do, Blake, Naruto said. Blake smiled, she was glad that he hadn't taken her harsh tone to heart. Though she was now more curious about the markings on his cheeks. That's good to hear, Naruto, sorry if I seem defensive, my family has been involved with faunus rights for as long as I can remember, so I guess it's just a part of me now, Blake explained. The reason is probably that I grew up on the coast of Menagerie and there isn't much land that's suitable for farming, so fish was what I grew up on, Blake continued as the atmosphere relaxed once again. Naruto smiled softly, showing he hadn't taken the reprimand to heart. He had been through enough lectures in his life to know when it was done out of goodwill. How about I continue the story while we digest, but first we should decide how we want to do night watch. I don't trust the fact that the grim we fought today is the first I've seen in a while, Naruto said. Blake gave a small smile in return, that sounds nice, if you don't mind, last watch should be at the darkest part of the night, so I'll take it. Faunus have great night vision. Blake explained. Naruto nodded before glancing up at Kurama. Kurama should be able to warn us pretty early on my watch as well, so I guess that settles it. So on to the tale. It was after a chapter's worth of the story when Naruto stopped. Well, Blake, I'm ready to start my shift, so what do you think so far? Pretty good, right? Naruto said as proudly as if he had written the story himself. Blake smiled, yeah Naruto, it is really interesting, your godfather was a talented man. A world of ninja sounds. As Blake was speaking, Naruto began to unwrap his arm. The wrapping had gotten wet and he wanted to dry it near the flames during his watch, he also needed to check the blade for nicks or dullness after the last few fights. His actions had not gone unnoticed by Blake, shortly after she had begun Blake trailed off into stunned silence as she stared at the metal appendage. Naruto looked up at the silence only to see Blake staring wide-eyed. He couldn't help it, the expression was too funny not to laugh. Haha, damn Blake, I know I'm impressive, but staring so hard after I take some clothing off is a little embarrassing, Naruto said with a grin that only grew when he saw what came next. Blake Belladonna was blushing from being caught staring at a guy she had reprimanded for being insensitive, the way Naruto had phrased it had certainly not helped. IHMPH, sorry for staring, Blake said as she regained her composure. Hey, no problem, I guess it can be a bit disarming, Naruto said with a raised eyebrow and an expectant smile. Blake stared at him. Naruto gained a confused look. Do you get it? Disarming because I lost an arm, Naruto said, gesturing to his own metal replacement. Blake shook her head in exasperation, she was starting to get just what kind of person Naruto was. I get it, Naruto, I'm just surprised you can joke about it so easily, have you lived with this for long? Blake asked. Naruto rubbed his chin and thought. I guess a few weeks now, I was in the hospital for a while and I got the arm about a week ago, Naruto said thoughtfully. Shouldn't you be in a hospital still? Or with your Blake stopped, noticing that Naruto had tensed slightly. Blake suddenly realized an obvious truth was staring her in the face. The young man traveling across Remnant alone, with few possessions and apparently having survived a traumatic injury. It wasn't hard to guess that Naruto likely had no home or family to go back to. Blake felt like smacking her head, she knew she could be a bit blunt, but she never thought she'd ask such a question without thinking it out. This was far from uncommon beyond the kingdoms, especially for the faunus she had met, who not only had to deal with the grim and bandits, but often biased citizens as well. She almost wanted to continue the question. Naruto was a mystery, he talked often, however he never seemed to reveal much about his past, and Blake knew that could be dangerous. No, it wouldn't be right to pry, I wouldn't want to talk about my past with a stranger either, Blake told herself. There was another reason as well, Naruto's upbeat personality had been a welcome change from the turmoil her life had been lately, and she felt bad about making him depressed. The White Fang and Adam had barely even crossed her mind since they met, and now in return she had apparently brought up a painful memory for him. Blake calmed down and mentally gritted her teeth to ready herself for what she was about to do. So what, you just armed yourself and decided to travel, Blake said awkwardly. Naruto stared blankly for a moment before bursting out with laughter. Ah, good one, Blake, yeah, that's basically how it went down, Naruto said with a grin, his previous expression gone as if it had never existed. Blake relaxed, glad that the dark mood had passed, and started watching in interest as Naruto went back to inspecting his arm. Her curiosity peaked when a blade slid out. Is that Atlas built? Blake asked. The arm seemed far too advanced for any kingdom besides Atlas, when wrapped Blake had not even noticed it was a prosthetic. Its movements were natural to the point that Blake almost doubted Naruto when he said he had gotten it only a week ago, but there was no reason to lie. No, I've never been to the kingdoms, no one in my village has. This was made by a friend, it's not dust comparable yet, but I definitely plan to find a shop in Mistral though, so I can upgrade it. I plan to get a regular dust weapon as well. The arm will be my trump card, so when I become world famous keep it on the down low. Naruto said with casual confidence. Lake rolled her eyes, yeah sure it will be our secret. She doubted it would ever come up, after all what were the chances some random guy like Naruto would be known by the whole world. Do you think you can find someone able to adjust something like that in Mistral? Blake questioned. It was hard to imagine finding medical technology like that outside Atlas for less than a massive fortune. Naruto looked up after inspecting the blade. Oh, I plan to make them myself, I just need access to the parts and some tools. My friend developed this stuff on his own, but he taught me how to work on it, Naruto said. Blake looked a bit skeptical, knowing how to build your weapon was needed for those hoping to become huntsmen, but medical tech was likely very different. Naruto didn't seem to carry a dust weapon at all, but she still nodded in acknowledgement. After all, Naruto had already proven to be full of surprises. I look forward to seeing it if we meet in the future, Blake said. Naruto stood and hopped up to join Kurama on top of the boulder. I promise I'll be even more awesome then. You get some sleep and I will start my watch. Naruto said. He then turned back to finish inspecting his arm. It would eventually need some basic maintenance with some tools he didn't have now and a massive overhaul in the near future to make it dust compatible. Dust was something Naruto wanted access to as soon as possible. He could already imagine wielding the elements he had never had the chance to use before. He liked the idea of having a lightning blade like Sasuke and Kakashi or using gravity. He could already see how awesome he'd look using something like Shinra Tensei. While Naruto daydreamed, Blake was soon laying inside a small sleeping bag. As she gazed at the dying flames, Blake glanced up at the figure on the boulder. Naruto faced the dark forest away from the fire. He seemed to be concentrating on something between his hands, but his gaze would constantly flicker up to survey the clearing. Kurama had decided to climb back to the top of his head, where the little fox somehow gave Blake the impression of a king on his throne, utterly sure that he belonged there. Lying down, Blake was suddenly a bit shocked at the situation. Here she was letting a stranger she had only met that morning guard their campsite. She should be sleeping in a tree in case he abandoned his post, now that they found the main road, or readying herself in case he robbed her in the night or worse attacked her. She knew she should have been wary and on guard, but she wasn't. Blake looked up at his silhouette where she could just make out the intense gaze that entered Naruto's eyes whenever a branch creaked in the wind, and it felt as if he would allow no enemy to approach. Even the fox atop his head seemed to take its guard duty seriously. It didn't make sense. What did she even know about him? She knew he had amazing combat ability. He didn't learn that by living peacefully, she was sure. He had a past he avoided, but she could hardly judge him there. She also knew he could be rather silly, and he seemed sincere. He told the stories he'd memorized from his godfather. He listened when she took a turn and told him some of her favorite fables, and he jumped into danger without hesitation. He called her his friend and seemed to mean it. Blake felt herself drifting off to sleep while feeling as safe she felt back in Menagerie. As strange as it seemed, she apparently had a friend she could trust guarding her back. Naruto had again wrapped his arm and now sat on guard duty as he trained his semblance. He manipulated the size and shape of his ability with ever-increasing speed and accuracy. The glow of his silver power was now the only source of light within the forest. You should probably switch to your dark orb, that glow can probably be seen for a mile, Kurama said, his small ears twitching as he listened for nearby Grim. Naruto grunted in acknowledgement, and the light disappeared to be replaced by a darkness far deeper than the surrounding night. While his progress with the light orb was advancing by leaps and bounds, the dark orb was proving more difficult. It still refused to hold any shape for more than an instant, however increasing its size like he did today was easy, as was making it more powerful. Unleashing a massive orb of destruction seemed like it would be frighteningly simple, but wielding a blade of nothingness or shooting an unlockable bullet seemed to be a far-off possibility. In contrast, the light orb was coming naturally. It was far easier to manipulate than raw chakra, and he could now warp its shape with casual speed. He could still remember how Gaara had used his sand, and he felt he could do something similar soon. Having worked with both, there was something he wanted to try. You want to see if you can combine them in some way, don't you? Kurama asked a question he already knew the answer to. Of course I do, if I can have both destruction and control, why wouldn't I? Naruto responded. Then go ahead, or are you being careful because we have company? Kurama asked. Naruto glanced back at the figure sleeping peacefully a short distance away. It might be fine or it might be violent, we'll have plenty of time when we go our separate ways, Naruto said. Kurama noticed his melancholy tone. You know she's hiding something, right? Kurama asked. Naruto snorted quietly, "Don't let my acting fool you, Kurama. I'm not some kid fresh out of his destroyed village. We both know I've seen enough people running from something to recognize it when I see it." Naruto heard Kurama chuckle within his mind. "You're acting, huh? You are literally telling her a story about a world full of ninja, not to mention she's likely has some suspicions already about your past. Despite how lucky you are at gambling, you have a shit poker face," Kurama said. A moment of silence passed between them. "Why are we still here, Naruto? The road is nearby. We could simply say goodbye and leave peacefully. Why stay with someone from the White Fang?" Kurama asked. It wasn't a surprise, they knew from the bandits' knowledge that the area they met Blake in wasn't far from the White Fang's territory. An armed Franus who was clearly in a hurry only left two options, either she was meeting the White Fang or she was fleeing. "She's leaving them, it's obvious. We can just stick around until we get closer to Haven. A ship will be a lot faster than going by land, and we'll find one a lot easier in the kingdoms," Naruto said, staring at the dark orb in his hand. "That's a reason to go to a kingdom town near the coast. I asked why we're still with the Faunus. She doesn't need our help, we haven't seen her fight, but I can still tell she's skilled. You've been friendly all day, more so than usual. You told her your favorite story, went on about being her friend, and you showed her your arm. I could have dried the cloth for you easily. It's as if you want her to open up to you. Are you thinking about changing our plans? Will we follow this girl to Beacon and try to solve whatever problem she's running from?" Kurama said, hopping down to sit next to Naruto and look up at his face. Naruto stared back at Kurama. "No, we'll go our separate ways after we get further from White Fang territory, and that hasn't changed. I'm being a friend because we both know what it's like to be hunted and how much a helping hand meant," Naruto said. Kurama gestured over to Blake with his snout. "She's not us, Naruto, we didn't choose to be hunted by the Akatsuki. The Faunus girl is likely escaping from an organization she joined, an organization known for its ruthless tactics. Maybe there's a reason to chase her down." Naruto gave Kurama a deadpan gaze of disbelief. "Do you really think Blake is that kind of person? After she helped us and was ready to fight that Grim alone, besides all of this is just our suspicion. We don't know for sure about anything, but I can tell after just a day that she is a kind person at heart. Blake is alone, Kurama, and she didn't choose to run toward friends or family. We have no reason to stay, but we also have no reason to abandon someone who might not have anyone she can turn to. Let's just stick around for a while," Naruto said. "Fine, I'll put up with your self-destructive naivety and let you trust this woman. I still plan to keep an eye on her in case she decides to cut your throat while you sleep, assuming I don't save the world the trouble and do it myself," Kurama said. "I'm sure I can rest well knowing you're watching out for me, little guy," Naruto said with a smile as he tapped Kurama on his small nose. A smile that turned into a grimace of pain as Kurama snapped his tiny and razor-sharp teeth down on the offending finger. Naruto remained as silent as he could while trying to pry the little fox off as Blake slept on, unaware that two people from another world were in a silent and comical battle nearby. Naruto was dreaming. He had awoken Blake for her watch and had gone to sleep. He had also noticed that Kurama remained awake and nearby. All thoughts of Kurama's suspicion was gone now because Naruto was dreaming of Konoha, where a party was happening in his apartment, which was now far larger than it should have been. It was a feast, a grand festival where every connection he had in his world was here and happy. Everyone from his team was nearby. Sasuke was sitting with Sakura while Sai painted near the far corner and Kakashi and Yamato watched with smiles from the wall. The other teams were scattered around the room laughing and roughhousing. Naruto looked to his left, where he knew with a certainty you only had in dreams that his parents would be there. They were holding hands beneath the table while Jiraiya told a dirty joke and Tsunade tried not to laugh while drinking. They smiled at him and Naruto smiled back as he turned back to look over the room, missing the smiling faces turned sad. Naruto gazed at the crowd as he spotted more and more people. The living and the dead chatted as more arrived, even as they never seemed to run out of room. His once lonely apartment seemed able to hold the world. Haku sat with Zabuza as he argued with Guy over whose student was more amazing. Lee seemed eager to prove Guy right, though Haku just smiled peacefully, which made Lee even more pumped. The Ichiraku family served never-ending ramen, and Sasuke's brother seemed to be following Orochimaru around with a grim look, while the sneaky snake sage seemed to continue to get away. Naruto saw people from the many lands he visited on his adventures, from the land of waves to the land of spring. The bridge builders, the priestess and the lords and ladies, dined with shinobi from every village. The cage minus Kakashi were playing a card game, and even the Biju towered over the party in the distance. Naruto felt someone hand him a cup and he looked to his right. It was Neji, the mark was gone from his bare forehead. "Quite the farewell party," Neji said as he filled Naruto's cup. Naruto looked confused. "Farewell party?" he asked. Naruto looked around the room and noticed that the party had stopped as countless faces had turned to him. In each hand was a cup raised high in the air. It started suddenly with Shino. You had better not forget me, Naruto. Remember, even the smallest insect can accomplish incredible things, so imagine what you could accomplish, Shino said as he drank his cup and seemed to fade away. Wait. The goodbyes came like a flood as countless voices rang out. Naruto could somehow make out each one in painful detail. Stop. Some were a simple goodbye, others were far more personal, but the well wishes never slowed as all the people Naruto knew faded away. I said stop it, damn it, Naruto said, slamming his hands down on the table, not caring about the shattering cup in his hand. Tears streamed down his faces. I will never run away and I never go back on my word. I promise I won't forget that, Hinata said as tears flowed from her own eyes. It didn't matter what Naruto said or did as the room seemed to spin around him. The voices never stopped even if they sounded as sad and broken about it as him. Eventually Naruto heard no more. The room was the same empty space as when he lived there. Well, that was a pretty fun party, though kind of a sad ending, but damn brat, you sure have met some wonderful ladies in your time. Naruto snapped around and there stood Jiraiya. Is this all real or a dream, Naruto asked. Who knows, kid, I don't think there is anything I could say that would prove this was all real. Just take it as a bit of both, Jiraiya said with a smile. Why? Naruto asked. If it's all a dream, maybe your subconscious is trying to tell you to let go. If it's real, then maybe there are forces in both these realms that feel you should have gotten the chance to say goodbye, Jiraiya said. Naruto was silent. What's the matter, brat? Catgirl got your tongue. Jiraiya said with a massive grin. Naruto went from contemplating reality to blushing indignation. Shut up, you perv, I know you had something to do with that. Naruto shouted. Jiraiya began to laugh. Ah ha ha ha, yeah, maybe I did, but think about it. Did I arrange things from beyond the grave, or did you, a ninja sage from Konoha, really not notice someone bathing a few feet from you? Maybe my student is finally taking after his master, Jiraiya said with a wink. Breemon, I was distracted by Kurama, and nobody would doubt you do that just for a laugh, Naruto said, smiling. The voice began to reverberate through the apartment. Naruto. Naruto, wake up. Looks like time is up, Naruto, your sexy new friend is trying to wake you up. When you finish dealing with the pack, get to the town as quickly as you can, they'll need your help, Jiraiya said as he placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto looked up at him in confusion. What are you talking about, what pack? Will I see you again, Naruto asked. You will see what I'm talking about when you wake up, I hope it will be a long time before you see me again, Naruto. Don't worry though, I'll watch over you, I'm sure you'll notice my guidance every now and then, Naruto, I want you to promise me something. Jiraiya stopped to think over his words. Naruto looked into his eyes with determination. What do you need me to do? Naruto asked, ready for a mission from the afterlife. I want you to promise me you'll actually enjoy life, Jiraiya said. What do you mean? Naruto asked. The apartment began to fade as Jiraiya let his hand fall to his side. Naruto, I was never able to let go of my past when I lived. You know, I never moved on from Tsunade. I'm not saying to jump into love, that's just one example. I let what my team did and the loss of your parents lead me to leaving the village when I should have been more involved in your life. You've lost a lot, Naruto, but don't let that stop you from being happy. Jiraiya said with a smile. I'll try to find my place in this world, pervy sage, Naruto said. Soon Jiraiya began to fade as well. Naruto watched as the world turned white. Goodbye, sensei. Goodbye, Naruto. In another world, countless individuals who had their lives changed by meeting a rather loud blonde woke up feeling like they had lost something important that they couldn't remember. Many found tears in their eyes. Except Orochimaru, who awoke feeling that he had escaped a horrible fate yet again. Naruto, wake up, Naruto. Blake shouted as she stood atop the boulder to take count of the enemy. Naruto bolted up, his mind focused, and the strange dream pushed to the back of his mind as he recognized the fact that they were under attack. He joined Blake and Kurama on the boulders where he looked out into the pitch-black darkness. The olds, no problem usually, but the issue was how many there were. The night was alive with glowing red eyes that circled their small campsite. It was difficult to get a proper count in the dark as they never stayed still. How many, Blake? Naruto asked. It's a massive pack, more than I've ever seen in one place. I can count at least 30 in the clearing, but there are a lot more hiding further back with a larger one leading. It stayed mostly out of sight, but I've gotten a glimpse. It's larger than most Ursa and smart enough to lead from the back. They all arrived at once, but they haven't made a move yet. Blake said. Naruto looked out and despite not seeing his target, decided to shout at it anyway. Ah, what a coward, not tough enough to step up to me without letting all your mutts go first, Naruto said as loudly and as mockingly as he could. Blake gave him an odd look. Do you think it understood your playground level insult? Blake asked sarcastically. It's the tone that's important, I think, besides I have to let him know he's barking up the wrong tree, Naruto said as he tried out another lame pun to lighten the mood. Blake glanced at him before turning back to the prowling Grim. We're on a rock, not in a tree, Blake said in a matter-of-fact tone. Naruto stared at her suspiciously. "You're messing with me, aren't you?" Naruto asked. Blake ignored the question, obviously she was messing with him. She drew her weapon. "I think it's time to go over our options, let's share what we can do. I have my weapon Gamble Shroud, it has a cleaver blade for the sheath with a katana pistol inside. I can change the katana to a sickle and use the ribbon as a chain. My semblances clones they can't move independently but can displace me in any direction I choose and I can infuse them with dust for elemental attacks. I'm also pretty good at using aura to augment my strikes." Blake said as they turned their backs to each other to guard their blind sides. Naruto glanced down as Kurama scurried up to his position on Naruto's head. Where he immediately looked over to a dense section of the forest. "The leader is over there, I've been tracking his movements since the girl first spotted him, she does have good eyesight," Kurama said. Naruto smiled. "Okay Blake, I don't have a baddest dust weapon yet, but I do have some tricks up my sleeve, I mean that literally. My arm has a blade that you saw earlier." Naruto stopped as a single Grim broke rank to charge. "I got it," Naruto said. He tore his bandages off and with whirling of gears and a snap, his mini crossbow slid into place and fired. The bolt slammed into the Grim at the shoulder, sending it flying back to the pack. The other beasts growled in haunting unison but continued to circle. "It also has a crossbow gun as you might have noticed, but I've got limited shots, that's where my semblance comes in, but I only activated it recently. I have a dual ability, one is my light orb that should let me see the surrounding area, I can control its shape and density, and it can absorb force to release for later at double the return. I don't have much practice controlling it, but I am pretty sure I can use it to replace my bolts, not sure on the range yet though. The other is Dark Orb, it's short range and doesn't take much energy, but it's not suited for precision, it destroys anything it touches that isn't coated in my aura almost instantly, and it's not really solid, so I can coat my hand in aura and use it as a slash attack," Naruto said. Blake blinked for a moment. Dual resemblance is rare, and both of those sound impressive even if you don't have much experience using them, so how do you want to handle this? Blake asked, moving on from how truly rare that was because of the situation. "Let's charge in, I know that seems crazy, but neither of us seems suited for a defensive battle in a stationary position, and we have no experience fighting together. I had a friend who was a canine expert, it's better to disrupt their pace and set our own. We can't match a pack's teamwork, so let's do this without getting in each other's way and helping when needed," Naruto said. The moment Naruto saw Blake agree, the pack howled and closed in. The duo charged in opposite directions to meet them. Naruto jumped to the nearest Grim and let loose a shadow swipe, the bloodthirsty beast was split to pieces that fell to the ground around Naruto as they turned to smoke. To the Grim on the outside it appeared that Naruto was covered in shifting darkness. His aura lit his eyes for a moment in electric blue, above these eyes were a set of burning red orbs. A ghostly silver glow began to wisp from one arm, while the dark smoke seemed to swirl into a vortex around the other. It painted a picture of a multi-eyed demon angered at this intrusion. The Grimm seemed to actually pause for a moment as they realized this would not be an easy fight. Their brethren on the other side of the boulders were thinking much the same, though with less fear and more mad frustration, as Blake seemed to become the avatar of motion. Never stopping as she danced among the Grimm. Her opening move was dash straight up to the nearest Grim, rearing back to attack and jump upon its head, where she slashed the heads off both Grim on either side by splitting her weapon in two, then bringing it back together and driving it into the Grim beneath her, before dashing off to the next target. The battle had begun, Blake continued to battle in relative darkness while moving to never letting the enemy overwhelm her. Naruto took a different approach as the Grim flooded in. Naruto stepped to the side and slashed out with shadow from low, cutting the front legs out from under the Grim. It looked up only to be met with a rain of silver spikes, piercing its skull. Naruto didn't bother to look as he again stepped to the side and turned while letting Dark Orb go and snapping his blade out and into the eye socket of a Grim that had come from behind. Once he shadow swiped, there was an instance when it had to come back together, it was only for a moment but long enough for a lucky shot. Lucky for him, he didn't rely on a single method of attack. He stepped and got half through a turn before blocking a Beowulf slashing down on him with his sword. The Grim never saw the silver spike that came from his feet from the smaller orb he had split off a moment before and willed to become dim. The group of four charged together, Naruto raised a shield and stretched it to block three while he again summoned the Dark Orb. He increased the size and sidestepped the Grim's charge by a hair, backhanding the Grim. The headless corpse dropped to the ground before disappearing. He then let the shield close around him, bringing the Grim close, the shield wall turned into a forest of spikes, impaling the beasts. Naruto gathered the light orb together and raised the brightness to its limit, in the dark forest it became took the brief respite to think over the situation. This is going to take some time and they're going to try to wear us down, and what Jiraiya said is still bugging me. Naruto thought to himself. Naruto looked over to Blake, he had kept her side of the fight in sight whenever he could. He hadn't seen much in the dark and with the boulders in between them most of the time, but he still had an idea on how to speed things up with what he had seen. Naruto made his way over to Blake. As he ran, he decided to take a page from back in the day when he fought Kimimaro. He gripped the dark orb in his hand, and as he ran it trailed lines of oblivion. At the same time he extended the light orb into multiple blades along his arm and sharpened the edge as sharp as he currently was capable of. As an ex-master of the wind element, he had a pretty damn good idea about sharpness. Naruto left a trail of dead Grim as he dashed to Blake's location. "Hey Blake, let's team up, it's going to take too long to deal with these guys separately and I have a plan for a combo offensive," Naruto said. Blake looked over from midair. She landed with a horizontal slash and finished her kill. "I thought you said we didn't want to get into each other's way by trying to work together forcibly," Blake asked. Naruto waved the comment aside. "Don't dwell on the past, Blake," Naruto said. Blake gave him an exasperated stare. "Fine, what's your plan?" Blake asked. Naruto grinned. Then he pointed to the ground. A flat circle of his semblance lay between them. Naruto grabbed Blake by the shoulders and pulled her forward to stand centered on the circle. "You take the high ground and we both switch to long range," Naruto said, still grinning. "High ground? What are you, Taya?" Blake said as she was launched upward by Naruto's semblance. Blake quickly adjusted as she sailed through the air. Switching to her pistol, she took aim and fired from safety with a bird's eye view. Her shots were noticeably devastating, and as she started descending, she switched to the chain and sickle so sliced through Grim as she neared the ground. Blake could already see that Naruto had switched to his mini crossbow and was firing rapidly. He had long run out of his original ammo and was now firing bolts of his semblance. The bolts kept the landing area clear and would dissipate shortly after the Grim did. Blake landed on the glowing platform and was surprised to find it absorbed the force of her landing before launching her back into the air. The battle went on, but like steel to a grindstone, the Beowulf pack wore itself down. Then suddenly the wave of Grim ended and Blake landed for good. "He's coming, probably thinks you're worn out by now," Kurama told him. The fox had never let his guard down as he kept his attention on the lead Grim. Naruto and Blake stood together as it walked between the trees. The previous dark night was beginning to give way to the coming dawn, and the Grim's massive silhouette was now clearly visible. It was covered in spikes of jagged bone, and despite its eyes it remained silent as it stalked closer. Naruto looked over to Blake. "Looks like it might be a good fight. You let me have that one yesterday. Do you want this one, or can we do rock paper scissors for it?" Naruto asked hopefully. Blake gave a tired smile. This fight had happened more than halfway through her watch. "I'll tell you what, you can fight the bloodthirsty monster, but you'll owe me one," Blake said. At this point she was confident Naruto would win, or at least know to call in help if he needs it. Naruto smirked. "You got a deal," Naruto said. All the awesome fights are mine," Naruto thought. He walked to meet the Grim, matching its sedate pace. Neither made a move until they stood face to face, barely a foot apart. Naruto was surprised. There was real intelligence in its eyes. He thought it would be the same rage-filled animal as all the others he'd met. Even the Elder King Taiju he had fought yesterday was easy to fool. This would be fun. Naruto began strong with a shadow slash. The Grim had learned from its dead soldiers. It didn't try to block, but dodged to the side. It retaliated with a clawed slash of its own. Naruto blocked with his blade while launching a silver spike from the ground. The Grim had expected it and stepped back the moment Naruto had blocked his attack. It dove low and snapped at his side, the wrong side. Naruto brought a metal elbow down on its snout. It slammed into the ground. Naruto straightened his arm and switched to his bolts. The Grim rolled to the side, trying to get behind him. Naruto decided to go for an old-school approach. He spun on his heel and snapped his leg up. His foot struck the bottom of its jaw hard enough that it was forced back to its hind legs. Naruto could see that the beast was dazed and went in for the kill. He slammed his fist forward and coated it with his silver semblance. At the moment of impact he released the force from the last time Blake landed. It added to the force of his own strike. The Grim was slammed backward until its back met the boulder. Judging by the smoke that exploded from the impact, the fight was over. Naruto heard the sound of clapping and looked over to Blake. "Well done, hero," Blake said with a smile. Naruto gave her the patented nice guy pose. "Never expect any less than epic from me, Blake," Naruto said. Then his expression turned serious. "Blake, that's been 2 Elder Grim in as many days. There might have been an incident, so I'm going to check on the town." "What do you want to do?" Naruto asked. Blake looked a bit surprised, but after a moment's thought she realized he likely had a point. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go check the town," Blake said as she stood. Naruto nodded and dashed to grab their belongings. The group soon started dashing with all the speed they could muster toward what they hoped would be a false alarm. What if Naruto has hagoromo power in rwby? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.